Chapter 9. They aren't where we left them. Lennox is by my side, sniffing the ground, his wolf senses at high alert. Griffin isn't here yet. We're faster than him when shifted. I scan the area. There aren't any people. It was a busy street when we left, but now it lies abandoned. Something bad has happened. I can smell it. I focus on Lily's scent, the one I know best. It's strongest in the spot where she was sitting earlier, cradling her arm. I shouldn't have left her. Benjamin's scent is all over the place. He must have returned to the girls while we were chasing the bad guy. Did they take all three of them, or did they split them up? Are they still alive? I shut those thoughts away and focus on my hunter instincts. I imagine them as my prey, and immediately, my vision changes. Scents turn into colorful lines and shapes around me, with the ones I recognize as bright, glowing ropes. They're intertwined, and I breathe a sigh of relief. They were together when they were taken. Other lines surround them, stronger than those of simple passerby. Those must be the assailants. 6 of them, 2 for each of my Meow employees. All 3 of them know how to handle themselves, but they're not hand-to-hand combat people. Benjamin works best in the shadows, thieving and occasionally doing a bit of killing. Lily seduces and elicits truths that people don't want to part with. Bethany poisons and loves a bit of torture, but facing off armed attackers, being outnumbered, I'm not sure how they fared. Lily had my knife and Bethany her own, and I'm sure Benjamin carried some kind of weapon. We're Meow, after all. None of us ever walk around unarmed. Beth always has some poison darts tucked away. She's good with them, almost as good as me. Maybe they let themselves be taken to find out what they want from them. Positive thinking, that's it. Lennox whines and scratches at the ground. I wish I could communicate with him when he's a wolf, but as it is, sign language and miming will have to do. I head over to where he's pointing with his paws. A drop of blood. I sniff it. Not my friends. Good. That means they managed to injure one of their attackers, although it can't have been a deep wound, with only this one tiny drop of blood. Still, it helps with getting an even better trace on him. I breathe in deep, committing the scent to mind. One of the lines surrounding us turns thicker. That's the one I'm going to follow. Lennox barks and starts walking in the direction of the very scent I'm focusing on. Oh well, I'll let him take that one. I'm a gentlewoman, after all. Sometimes. I walk along the street for a few yards, watching how the scents change. They split in 2 directions when I get to a crossing. Bethany and Lily have been taken down an alleyway to my right, while Benjamin continued straight ahead. There are 3 of the attackers with either group. Why did 3 of them stay with Benjamin? He's a scrawny boy, hardly a threat. The silence is bothering me. No people at all. In one way, it's good because nobody will be shocked by seeing a panther and a wolf running down the street. But where is everyone? How did they manage to get rid of all the drunks and revelers? The Drowned Man pub is just around the corner, so there must be people wanting to get there. I hear Griffin's panting before he arrives. He's fast, but not as fast as us shifters, despite his other skills. He skids to a stop and looks around, taking in the scene. "Where are the people?" he asks, voicing my thoughts. I try to shrug, but I'm not sure if he can interpret a panther's shrug. My shoulders aren't where they are when I'm human. It's a pity Riker isn't here to translate. "Do you have their scent?" I nod and point ahead into the alley with one paw. "I think we should stick together," he says, looking down the dark alley. It's pretty much identical to the one we followed to race after Lily's attacker. I nod again and meow at Lennox. He pads over, his nose close to the ground. I've always wondered if he visualizes scents like I do, or if it's different for him. "Which one shall we follow?" Griffin asks. I sniff. The stronger scent, the one from the injured man, heads to the right. I wave my paw and start walking. I don't run, preferring to save my strength and keep my full focus on tracking. The others shadow me, easily falling into a formation. Griffin keeps watch, making sure nobody surprises us. Lennox also sniffs for scents, my backup in case I lose the trace. We must make a strange sight. A human-looking siren, a werewolf, and a panther walking along a street at night, hunting bad guys. Sounds like a fairy tale. Or a superhero film. Except that we're no heroes. Not in the slightest. Heroes don't kill for fun. They don't run assassin agencies. And they certainly don't lust after 3 men at once. The longer we walk, the stronger the scent becomes. It can't have been too long that they passed by here. Around corners we go, through narrow alleys and archways that look like they're about to crumble. This is becoming more slum than town. I've been here before, obviously, but since most of my marks live in posher parts of town, it's been a while since I last had deadlines in this area, mostly to get supplies for poisons or to meet people interested in employing me. They always assume that I favor a place like this to meet up, while actually, I'd much rather have our encounters in their homes or offices. It gives me an impression of who they are and how much I can charge. Wait, I know this street, Griffin mutters. A guy I once did a job for lives here. Actually, maybe he just meets people here. I can't imagine leaving him in a dirt hole like this. Since I can't reply or ask questions, I give him an encouraging meow. He runs a network of thieves and lowlives, humans only. He calls himself the Spider, and his people are the web. He thought I was human, obviously. Otherwise, he'd never have worked with me. He believes there are too many shifters in this business, and that humans should be the ones ruling the criminal underworld. He snickers. As if they'd be strong enough. I glamored him into paying me 3 times the promised rate, and he didn't even realize. I wonder if he's the one who's kidnapped my friends. Maybe he feels threatened by Meow, a supernatural assassin agency. That seems a little stupid, though, and too sophisticated. Splitting us up, knowing that we'd be here. Someone had to have been following us from our headquarters, and that means they are good. Really good. None of us noticed, after all, although I have to admit that I was a little distracted by the guys. The cat and heat thing is making me incompetent at my job. I've always noticed when I've had a tail. A metaphorical one. I always know when I have an actual physical tail. I snort at my silliness and frustration. I need to concentrate. I continue on, following the ever-stronger growing scent trail. It disappears through a low door in a building that looks like it's about to collapse. A few bricks are already scattered all around its walls, along with shattered roof tiles. The next storm will be the end of this house. Lennox sniffs the air, growling softly. He must be smelling the same that I do. A lot of males close by, full of testosterone. Not just the 3 whose scents we followed here. Many more, at least 5 others. I hope they haven't harmed Lily and Bethany. We need to be fast. This might be a trap. No, this most certainly is a trap. But I don't have a choice. My friends are in danger. We need to get them out and then go after Benjamin. I hope he'll understand that we went for the 2 women first. Not because they're weaker, but because the scent of their attacker was stronger, and because it makes sense to rescue 2 allies first, who can then help us. I want to stay a panther, but I'm too big to sneak around these small, unsteady buildings. I might do more harm than good. Taking a deep breath, I steel myself for the pain and begin the shift. It doesn't hurt at all. What the fuck is happening? It's never been painless, never felt as easy as this. Never. Is it my heat hormones? Or did my near-death change something? This is the first time I've shifted since then. I was scared before, especially after meowing as a human. Ending up as some kind of permanent hybrid didn't sound like a good idea at the time. Lennox shoots me a questioning glance. His blue eyes are glinting in the dark. "You stay shifted for now," I whisper. "Griffin and I will stake out the place and go in first. Then you can follow and do some slashing and biting." Lennox bares his fangs in agreement. I pull my knives, glad for the strange shifter magic that lets me keep my clothes and weapons, and walk to the small door. I lean against it, listening for sounds from the other side. Nothing. "I'll check it out from above." Griffin mutters quietly and deftly climbs up the wall of the house opposite. I watch his lithe figure as he makes his way to the roof, looking as if it's as easy as a walk in the park. Once he's at the top, he looks around, searching the area. Lennox sniffs around the house, his ears twitching as he listens for anything that might help us. Griffin points to something beyond the house we're watching. His lips move, and I focus on my cat senses to hear him. "Their actual hideout is behind. You need to go through the old building, and then you'll get to the one where they're waiting." I chuckle. No way am I simply going to walk through that door. I bet there are traps on the other side. No, I'm going to take the upper route as well. The roof of the dilapidated house looks too unsafe to walk on, so I climb the wall of the neighboring building, which is 2 stories higher and hopefully more stable. Lennox gives me a little whine when I look down on him. "Go and see if you can find some cats in the vicinity," I whisper, knowing that he'll be able to hear me despite the distance. "Would be good to have Riker here as backup." He nods, waggles his tail, and runs off. I could have searched for cats myself, but I'm already on the roof, and I don't want Lennox to shift back yet. Having a wolf fight by my side might come in handy. I hate not knowing what awaits us. Usually, I'd stake out this house, taking hours to watch who comes and goes, figuring out escape routes and weak spots. Now, we have to act fast, and there's no time to play it safe. All my cat senses are telling me is that Bethany and Lily are in the tall house behind the crumbling smaller one, which can only be accessed through that door or from above. As I slowly make my way along the roof, a small, dirty courtyard comes into view. It's empty, except for some white plastic sacks in one corner. I wonder what's inside those. It would be disappointing if it were only rubbish. I'd be more interested in body parts. Griffin has jumped over to my side of the street and now joins me, crouching low next to me. His scent fills my nose, and I breathe in deep. "Not distracting at all. Can you tell how many there are?" he whispers. I shake my head. I'm not quite close enough to smell them, and they're being very quiet. "And your scent is distracting me." But I don't say that. He doesn't need to know what kind of effect he has on me. I think the cat in heat is getting worse. I'm on a rooftop, 2 of my friends have been kidnapped, and I'm thinking of Griffin's alluring scent and how I would like to jump him here and now. It can't continue like that, or I'll be out of business soon. "But Lily and Bethany are in there?" "Yes. Their trail went through the door and the little house. It was so strong that I think they must be close, probably in that building or at least not far from here." I turn to him, although looking at his scarred, beautiful face only makes my urges stronger. "How many people can you influence at once?" "Unless I start singing, 2 at the max, depending on how strong-minded they are. Sirens can control more than just 2 people if they know them and have used their powers on them continuously. It makes them more perceptible. My father had around 20 men who he was able to steer and even fully control if necessary. I'm a little out of practice, though." "What happens if you sing?" I think back to his song at his place, how his music quite literally touched my body. I doubt he's going to give the kidnappers an orgasm, although that might distract them enough for us to get the 2 women. I can't push a specific command through my song, just an emotion, a feeling, and I can't control who reacts to it, which means all of you would be affected. You probably least of them all, And I'm not sure about Lily, but Bethany is human and would succumb to my song, making a rescue much harder. If we can avoid it, I'd rather not sing and have it as a last resort. I nod. Can you do any emotion? It works best if it fits the situation. In this case, I'd use fear, while in other cases, something positive works better. Something seems to get lodged in my throat. Something positive. Like making me completely and entirely aroused? Making me lose my mind? I hope he's going to give me another show of his talents when we're alone. Not here on a roof. He clears his throat, and from the heat in his gaze, I sense that he was thinking of the same thing. What now? The predator in me rises to the surface as I stare down at the house where my friends are being held. Now, we kill. Chapter 10. Griffin drops down into the courtyard, landing in a graceful crouch. He's got a scimitar in one hand and a short dagger in the other. He's the only person I know who fights with that curved sword, but he says he's found it to be the most effective for his style of fighting. Each to their own. I wrap my hands around the hilts of my own daggers. I can almost feel them lusting for blood. He looks up at me, and I give him a short nod. It's time to begin our assault. I take a few steps back and let my panther's strength seep into my muscles. Then I run to the edge of the roof and jump. I fly over the courtyard, but it's almost too far, even with the added strength. I stretch in mid-flight, letting my claws shoot out, and then I'm clinging to the edge of the roof, my legs dangling, my claws half embedded in some tiles. That was close. With a groan, I pull myself up onto the roof. I think I broke a claw. Oh well. I let them shift back into fingernails, and while there's a drop of blood on one of them, everything seems to be fine. The door to the courtyard opens with a creak and two men pour outside. Grunts would be a fitting description, as wide and bullish as oxen, and probably just as stupid. Griffin cuts one of them down before they can even react, but the second manages to yell for help before the scimitar relieves his head from his body. Now that I'm on top of the roof, I can sense the people inside. 8 men, 2 women, not counting the 2 bodies on the ground. Totally doable. The 2 female and 1 male scents are further away and slightly muffled. A basement, probably. Good. That means they won't be able to take the women out of the house too quickly. Unless they have tunnels in their basement. I think back to the Kindler case. How I hate underground tunnels. While Griffin waits for reinforcements, acting as the distraction just like we agreed, I run to the other side of the roof, where a dust-covered attic window is waiting for me. I don't bother being quiet and careful with opening it. I flip my dagger in my hand and crash the hilt against the glass. It shatters, shards of glass raining down into the attic. My senses tell me that nobody's in the dark room, so I drop down, avoiding most of the shards. My leather boots have thick soles because of exactly these kind of situations. It happens more than you'd think. A narrow, steep staircase leads down to the first floor. Maybe I should get one of those for my own attic. But then, I like my trapdoor. It stops people from harassing me too frequently. The sounds of fighting make me quicken my pace. Griffin should be fine, but let's not dawdle. Hopefully, Lennox will join him soon. The first floor is just as empty as the attic. Everyone's either trying to get into the courtyard or down in the basement. I sneak down the stairs. At the end of a short corridor leading to what smells like a dirty kitchen stands a man, his back to me. Nice. Prey that likes to make it easy for me. I debate whether to use one of my poison darts for a moment, but no, I'm in the mood for some blood. My panther is yearning for a fight. My dagger almost jumps into my hand and I throw it in one smooth motion. It embeds itself into the man's neck, snapping his spinal cord. He collapses to the ground with a dull thud, unable to even scream in pain. I run over, pull my knife from his prone body and, feeling nice, cut his throat rather than have him suffocate to death. I know, I'm far too kind. Relying on my sense of smell, I follow Lily's scent back along the corridor until I reach a bookcase. Really? How predictable. I pull on the book that has the most potent scent, and the bookshelf detaches from the wall, revealing a hidden door. As I said, pathetic. On the other side of the door, a staircase leads into a dark, damp-smelling basement. The women's scent is strong now. There's only one guard. Did they expect we'd just let them take my friends without a fight? He stinks of testosterone, sweat, and something else. Something that seems familiar but foreign at the same time. I turn around 2 corners until his scent becomes so strong I know that he's close. I don't make a sound as I ready my knives. This time, I might play with him for a while. The other death was too fast, not satisfying enough. Blood helps make a death experience feel more fulfilling. That's what I should add to my business cards. Catriona Feln, the best provider of death experiences. Discover the only true way to die. A 5-star experience that will leave you breathless. I'm procrastinating. Why is it so hard to focus today? First, I was too obsessed with wanting to hump Griffin, and now I'm thinking about how to market my business. Focus, Cat. Your friends are in danger. This isn't the time to lose track of what's important. I steel my mind and step around the corner, bringing me face to face with a beast of a man. He's massive, his shoulders twice as broad as my own, his legs like tree trunks, his face hidden by a wild beard. Tattoos snake up and down his bare arms, most of them crude and badly done. His eyes don't gleam with any intelligence. He's their guard dog, the muscle, not someone who actually controlled this operation. Good. That means I can kill him without regrets. I wouldn't want to miss the chance to interrogate whoever is in charge here. He doesn't look surprised and picks up an axe leaning against the wall. It's almost as tall as I am. My knives aren't going to be much use against it, so let's be quick. Before he can properly lift the axe, I jump forward, my knives extended, ready to pierce his large stomach. For such a big man, he moves surprisingly fast. He blocks my attack with one arm while he swings the axe with the other. My knives slide over his leather arm guard, leaving deep gashes but barely reaching his skin. Out of balance, I stumble forward, but catch myself just in time to evade the axe by crouching low. The metal swooshes over my head, and a solitary hair slowly falls to the floor. That was close. I hadn't expected him to be able to swing the axe with just one arm. This guy is strong. Since I'm already on the ground, I go for the closest target. His legs. He's not wearing any armor there, just simple trousers big enough to be used as flour bags. My knives slice across the back of his knees, and down he goes, falling forward. Fuck. I'd expected him to topple in the other direction, but the weight of the axe must have messed with physics. I roll to my right, just about evading his massive body. He grunts as he hits the ground, but he keeps hold of his axe. He's not done yet. I jump to my feet, finally feeling like I've got an advantage now that he's no longer towering over me. I could jab him with some poison darts to make it quick, but this is far too much fun. Adrenaline is coursing through my veins, making me feel more alive than I have ever since I woke up from my near-death experience. This is why I do this job. The danger, the excitement, and finally, a challenge. Most marks aren't prepared for me or have no physical strength, but this man, he's actually a match for me. I grin as I watch him shuffle and turn until he's kneeling, now almost as tall as me. His eyes burn with hatred and pain. The smell of blood fills my nostrils, and I can't help but smile. He's still bleeding, losing strength with every drop of ruby-red liquid dripping onto the floor. I need to hurry up, or he won't be a challenge for much longer. I want to enjoy this. "You'll pay for that," he grunts. I quirk an eyebrow. Make me. He lifts the axe with one hand as easily as he did when he was still standing. The sharp blade glints in the dim light. It's not tasted blood yet. Maybe I should let it nip me, just for fun. Pain makes me even more feral. The man tries to swing his axe, but he's too close to the ground and doesn't get the angle right. The blade crashes into the wall, making splinters of stone fall onto the floor. Want one of my knives? He glares at me, and then his eyes turn yellow. Fucking yellow. How the heck? He's human. He smells human. Is this some kind of mutation? A freak of nature? Or is he a species I haven't encountered before? One that can masquerade as human? What are you? I snarl, gripping my knives a little harder. The unknown excites me, but I'm angry that I didn't realize before. He smiles, exposing sharp teeth. I swear they were smooth before. His canines didn't protrude like they do now. Pointed and dangerous looking. "Something new," he hisses, and then he's on his feet as if I never injured his legs. What the fuck? He's healed. The smell of blood is almost gone. I've never seen anything like it. Shifters can heal, yes, but it takes time. It's not instantaneous as this. One thing is for certain. He's not human. Not in the slightest. "Tell me!" I challenge him, waiting for his attack. I won't charge him until I know who or what he is. I need this information more than I need to see him suffer. His grin widens. "I'm your death." He attacks, swinging his axe like it's light as a stick of wood. I barely manage to evade his strike by crouching low. He laughs and raises his axe once more, ready to strike. I decide it's enough. Pulling a dart from my collar, I jab it in his leg. It's not a deadly one. I need him alive for now. It's going to paralyze him in 3, 2, 1. Nothing happens. He didn't even notice me pricking him, but now his axe is racing towards me, ready to split me in two. I jump, sliding through his wide-open legs, rolling until I can flip to my legs. I'm kind of proud of that move, but not for long. He turns faster than his bulk should allow and continues his attack. I don't have a chance to take the offensive. I'm busy making sure that he doesn't cleave me into a limbless, headless cat. I still enjoy our dance, but it's getting frustrating. Usually, I'm the one in charge, but this is the very opposite. He's stronger, and it hurts to realize that. This time, I take 2 darts and flick them at his throat. He manages to pull one out before much of the poison can reach his bloodstream, but misses the other. I wait with bated breath, hoping that this time there will be some kind of effect. My darts should work on shifters, not as effective as on humans, but still well enough to slow them down and put them out of commission for a while, long enough for me to get the upper hand. Not with him, though. He laughs as if my actions amuse him. "Got anything better?" he growls and stalks towards me. His canines are even longer now, reaching all the way over his bottom lip. He's changing while we're fighting, and who knows what the end result will be. I need to act fast. My knives gripped tight, I launch myself forward, evading his strike and diving under his arm, stabbing one blade into the soft spot in his armpit, and the other along his chest, just above where his armor ends. That one won't hurt him much, but I want to see how fast he heals. And the armpit one is the one I put all my strength into anyway. It's a great place to make someone bleed. A lot. And yes, blood sprays all over my face even as I retreat. He yelps, a pitiful sound, reminding me of a wounded dog. He stares at his arm, hanging limply along his body. I must have severed some sinew and nerves. Good. That should stop him for a while. I don't wait to see the effect, just in case he heals too fast. Knowing that my paralyzing darts are ineffective on him, I take the deadly ones this time. 2 for good measure. If he dies, Beth can dissect him, and we might still manage to learn more about what he is. I'm becoming more and more aware that Lily and Bethany are held down here in the basement, and that Griffin hasn't joined me yet, meaning he's still busy fighting the other men upstairs. Or injured. But no, I would have heard if he'd called for help. Where the hell is Lennox? He should be back by now. How hard is it to find a cat? The darts embed themselves in his upper arm, the uninjured one. He doesn't seem to realize, still staring at his other one. The blood flow is already getting less. He's healing. Damn. I've never seen anyone heal this fast. It shouldn't be possible. 3, 2, 1. He stumbles. His knees buckle and he's back on the ground, but he's still very much alive. I shot him with 2 deadly darts, and he looks as if he's barely affected. I'm running out of darts. Not good, but it can't be helped. Hopefully, I won't need any after I'm done with this guy. Let's hope there aren't more of him. I shoot my last 2 deadly darts at him, then jump and land on him, toppling him to his back. My knives bite into his shoulders, close enough to his neck to sever all the important stuff. He stares up at me, his yellow eyes filled with hate, and then his life bleeds out of him. He stills, and I hear his heartbeat a final time. Dead. Finally. I step off his prone body and sheath my knives, turning away from him. Time to free my friends. That's when his heart starts beating again. Chapter 11. I throw his head as far away from his body as possible. That should keep him dead. I hope. Maybe his body will rise and randomly start slashing around with the axe he's still clutching in his lifeless hand. I pry it from his thick fingers and take it with me towards the room at the end of the dark corridor. Lily and Beth are behind the thick iron door. I can smell them.
Girls?
I shout.
You all right?
We're fine.
Lily's voice is muffled, but she sounds healthy enough. Annoyingly, the big guy didn't carry any keys on him, but I have my trusted lockpicks. Just when the door springs open, footsteps behind me announce someone approaching. I sniff the air. Griffin and Lennox. Finally. What took you so? I swallow my words. They're covered in blood. Lots and lots of blood. It cakes their hair, soaks their clothes, leaves a trail in their path. That's going to be one long shower. One of them was a little bit of work, Lennox says with a wry smile. He points at the head on the floor and gives it a little kick. I see you had one of them as well. Griffin inspects the headless body. Nice work. I assume your poisons didn't work either. I shake my head. Not in the slightest. Beheading seemed to do it, though. He chuckles. Yeah, same for ours. Except that it took me 3 of his resurrections to figure that out.
Feel like getting us out anytime soon,
Beth shouts from behind me.
It's getting cold in here.
Cold? It's rather warm down here. But I see why she said that when I enter their cell. They're naked, both of them. They didn't even get to keep their underwear. Guys, keep back, I tell the boys before they can follow me. I know Lily wouldn't have a problem with men seeing her naked, but I'm not sure about Bethany. And to be honest, I don't want the men to see anyone except for me that way. No more naked girls for them. I'm a cat. I'm possessive by nature. I pick the handcuffs keeping Lily and Beth shackled to the wall before sending the men to find some clothes in the house. While we wait for them to return, I sit down on the wooden bench and rub the blood off my knives. They'll get a proper polish when we're back home. And they probably need some sharpening as well after being stopped by that leather arm guard. I love looking after my weapons. It's a calming procedure that lets me clear my head and focus on a simple task that doesn't require much thinking.
What happened to Ben?
Beth asks after a moment of silence.
They split us up as soon as they subdued us.
We're going after him once we're done turning this house upside down. They were fools to lead us here. It seems to have been used as a hideout, and I want to gather as much intelligence as I can before we leave.
Why did they take our clothes?
Lily asks.
They didn't try to hurt us, just made us strip and then chained us to the wall.
One of them was strange. He had some shifter characteristics, but wasn't a shifter. Not a real one, anyway. I wonder if his kind can do the same kind of tracking as proper shifters can. Taking your clothes would provide them with an easy way to track you no matter where you are. You wore them while you were tagged, which means you likely sweated and left a strong smell on them.
Are you saying some weird creature is going to sniff my clothes?
Bethany asks incredulously. I shrug. I've done that before when trying to find people. Actually, I'm going to see if I can find some clothes here that don't belong to one of the men we killed. Might be helpful later. Not that I'm looking forward to sniffing bad people's underwear, but sometimes life throws you a murderer's dirty Y-fronts, and you just have to deal with it.
If they now have access to our scents, does that mean they'll keep coming for us?
Lily cradles her broken arm. We need to get her to a doctor. Succubi don't have any better healing powers than humans do, so she must be in a lot of discomfort. We'll figure out what they want, I promise her, and I'll make sure that they won't hurt you again. They'll be too dead to get close to any of us.
That's reassuring, unless they turn into zombies.
Beth snickers. I'd hate to tell her that the man outside was kind of a zombie, if you define that as coming back from the dead. Luckily, the decapitation seems to have done the trick. Lily rolls her shoulders, her expression pained.
Why does this always happen when we want to have a night out? We keep ending up in trouble.
I snort. You call this trouble? I've had much worse. I can confirm that's correct. Lennox says from behind me with a chuckle. She's done much, much worse. I step out of the room to see him and frown. How would you even know? It's not like you've been around much the last 10 years. Oops, that sounded a little bitter. He raises an eyebrow, probably trying to figure out if I'm angry with him for some reason or not. I give him a tight smile, and that pretty eyebrow lowers itself to a normal level. I know, my cat. He replies softly. I can't imagine your life getting any less dangerous after I left. On the contrary. Am I wrong? Nah, I mutter, hating to prove him right. But that's not important right now. We need to search this place and then find Benjamin. Lennox hands me a stack of clothes. That's the best I could find, and the other two are already turning the house upside down. 2. Riker's arrived. It took his cats forever to bring him here. He joined us just when we'd finished dispatching that creature. Which is why my clothes aren't bloody, Riker shouts from above. Wow, his hearing is excellent. God, if you want to hug someone, take me. Why would I want to hug someone? I ask in genuine confusion, before remembering my little heat problem. Right now, I don't feel horny. Wow, that's the first time in forever that I don't want to jump Lennox and take him right against the wall. It must be all the excitement and adrenaline. I shall have to remember that. Killing someone lessens your libido. Who'd have thought? I can't help but smile at that development. It's an easy cure. Killing is free, fun, and less effort than screwing someone. Although, I have to admit, it's not quite as much fun as I could have with my guys. Lennox, Bethany, and Lily stay behind to search the house. Then Lily is going to be accompanied to the hospital. She's not someone who likes to make a fuss, but I've instructed Bethany to use any threats she can come up with to make sure that Lily lets herself be examined and treated. Since Lennox has shifted once tonight already, it's better if he stays human for now, which is why he's the one staying with the girls. I doubt anyone is going to try and attack them again. Not today, anyway. But if they do, he should be able to handle it, even without shifting to his wolf. And of course, Riker's cats will be following them. The rest of us have returned to the street where our friends got abducted. The revelers have returned, making it harder to pick up Benjamin's scent among the smell of alcohol, sweat, and piss. If I didn't share a house with a thief, it might have been almost impossible to follow his trail. But I smell him every day and know exactly what I'm looking for. Some of the people around us give us some strange glances, but we didn't have time for Griffin to get cleaned up properly. He's donned a new shirt and jeans, but there's blood in his hair and on his boots. He didn't want to part with those. Still, this isn't an area of town where blood is something rare. Even now, I can hear several ongoing fights and smell at least 2 bleeding victims somewhere close by. It takes us 10 minutes to follow the trail through small alleyways and across a busy road until we get to the warehouse district. There's not much here besides, well, warehouses, as well as some smaller factories. Riker's chocolate factory is pretty close from where we are now, and I kind of wish we had time to stop by and play with the kittens. 2 cats are walking by Riker's side, but I don't know either of them. He's attracted a wider following recently, and a lot of newbies have joined his family. I'm going to have to ask him to introduce me later on. I want to know my co-workers' names. The scent leads us to the newest-looking warehouse in the vicinity. It's a shiny metal building with a glass roof. How impractical. Or is it some kind of greenhouse? But no, the metal walls would make it a boiling heat trap. Ever seen this place before? I asked the men. I've walked past it, but never taken a closer look. Riker says with a tone of regret. I've checked out most of the other buildings here to scavenge, but this one has better security than all of the others combined. We keep to the shadows, and I'm glad it's night. There are a couple of spotlights illuminating the ground around the warehouse, but one of them is faulty, giving us a dark space to hide and make plans. Can you feel that? Griffin suddenly asks. Feel what? My senses aren't picking up anything out of the ordinary. You don't have an urge to turn and walk away from here? I shake my head. Should I? He grimaces. Yes, if you were human, you would. It's a siren technology. Low-wave recordings of a siren song, making anyone getting too close suddenly decide that they have somewhere better to be. I shouldn't be surprised that it's not working on the 2 of you. A recording? Riker asks. Shouldn't we be able to hear that? It's barely loud enough to even pick up on sensors. Griffin explains. If you got close to the speakers up near the roof, you might be able to sense it, but not down here. Fascinating. I mutter. Could we install something similar at Meow? Not turning people away, but making them pay more for my services? The guys stare at me. Then Griffin starts to laugh, a genuine happiness shining in his eyes. You're something special, Cat. I shrug, just trying to make a living. Without warning, Riker wraps an arm around me and pulls me close. I could fight him, of course, but it feels too good to resist. His lips are on mine in an instant, and I soak in his taste. Fresh milk and catnip with a hint of cinnamon. Stop it. Griffin suddenly growls. I don't think it's because this is an inappropriate time or place, but because he's feeling left out. No kissing until we have our date and talk about this. With a last nudge of my tongue against Riker's, I step back, frowning at Griffin. This? He waves his arm at the 2 of us. This? You, him, me, Lennox? This? I sigh. Do we really have to talk about it? Can't we just, Except that you're all mine and move on? The guys look at each other. No. Griffin grunts. We're going to talk this through at our date, preferably tomorrow, or tonight, as soon as possible. Riker shrugs. I've lived as a cat, and our females take as many males as they want, but now that I've shifted, I don't feel the same nonchalance about it all. I think having a chat with all of us present would be good. I sigh. Men. They always need to make everything so complicated. All right, then, a date. But there needs to be good food. And wine. Griffin nods. Deal. I know just the place. 8 p.m.? How about noon? Riker suggests. The sooner the better. I don't know how much I can last with smelling her in heat like that. Unless we remove the no kissing rule, then 8 p.m. is fine. I'm not in heat, I protest, but him mentioning it has reminded my hormones that I am, in fact, in heat. Fuck. I'd hoped the killing's anti-libido effect would persist for a little longer. My insides clench at realizing how close the two men are standing to me. How easy it would be to pull them both close, sandwiched in their midst, and do all sorts of fun and naughty things with them. A scream pierces the night, and my horniness. Benjamin. One of the cats meows, and Riker bends down to talk to the ginger male. The other cat has disappeared, probably scouting the area or getting reinforcements. Riker can still communicate with them, even though he's shifted. It goes way beyond the rudimental form of communication I have with cats. He understands every single word, not just their intentions. I'm kind of jealous of that, but it makes sense. He's lived with those cats all his life, and not only that, they've also accepted him as their leader. Bowen says there is no other way inside than via the front gate. He translates. No holes in the wall, no windows on the roof. It's a new building, and it shows. The other warehouses all have weaknesses to exploit, but this one has been built to be secure. I'd feared that. Griffin admits. If this building has siren security, that also means that there will be further guarding measures inside. This won't be as easy as the other house where we simply walked in. This is a fortress, even though it doesn't look that way. Another scream, but it isn't Benjamin this time. Hopefully, it's his attacker. I wish I had something to cut through the walls, but I don't have all my breaking and entering equipment with me. After all, we were only planning to look at the blue house and then maybe go to the pub. Kidnapping wasn't on our agenda at all. Can't be helped. Let's go through the door, I say, grimacing at the thought of giving up any stealth advantage we might still have. My cots are bringing reinforcements, Riker reports, stroking the ginger male's head in thanks. Can you sense how many people are inside? Griffin asks, but I shake my head. The walls are too thick, sorry. There are a sense of maybe 24 different people out here, but they could be old. No idea how many are in there right now. Guess we're in for a surprise. He smirks. I've got to say, I don't always like surprises, especially when they involve my family. I realize that Riker hasn't shown any surprise about Griffin's talk of sirens and family connections. That means Griffin has filled in the others while I was recovering. Good. That means one less secret. Should one of us stay behind, just in case? Riker asks. I've thought of that myself, but since we don't have the advantage of surprise, it might be better to attack at full strength. No, we stay together. I take a deep breath. Let's kill some evil people. Chapter 12. Of course, the massive doors at the front of the warehouse are locked. There's no doorbell either. That would have been kind of fun. Instead, I knock as loud as I can. The sound reverberates across the metal building, echoing far. Heavy footsteps approach. 3 people. Let's hope they're not zombie mutants again. Although, killing them would distract me from the urge I feel to pull my 2 men closer to me, to touch them in all the right places. I'm starting to get distracted, and that's a bad sign. Benjamin is in danger. He might be hurt. And here I am, fantasizing about seeing these guys naked and on top of me. A tiny hole opens in the door on the right, and an eye blinks at us. "What do you want?" I smile innocently. "We're doing a survey about how happy local businesses are with the services the council is providing. Would you like to answer a few of our questions?" Blink, blink. The man steps away from the hole, and another takes his place. A blue eye this time, with purple swelling just underneath. "Of course, we'd love to help you with your survey," he says pleasantly, his voice a warm baritone. Griffin clears his throat, confirming my suspicions. He's a siren. That means the pack is involved. It doesn't surprise me, but the presence of one of their leaders makes me realize that this warehouse might be more important than I thought. Which also begs the question of why they brought Benjamin here. They must have expected us to follow our friend's scent. It's a trap. Of course it is. Question is, how quickly can we spring it before wiggling out of its grasp and turning the tables? The man steps back from the peek hole and starts unlocking the door. "Play along," Griffin whispers. "Pretend to be under his influence." I'm not sure how much good that will do. If this is a trap, the siren knows who and what I am. If they've been watching me, they might even know about Riker and Griffin. We don't have an advantage anymore, but maybe we can be unpredictable enough to make it all work out. The double doors open with an irritating squeak. They could do with some oiling. It's more a gate than a door, big enough for carts to pass through. 3 men await us. 2 are giants, probably the same undying mutants we've already encountered, and 1 slim, well-dressed man between them. His goatee is precise and immaculate, his teeth a shiny white, and his suit freshly pressed. The only thing that's not perfect about him is the large bruise under his left eye. It's fresh, maybe a couple of hours old. Although, since sirens heal slightly faster than humans, it might be more recent. "Do come in," he says pleasantly. "How long will this take?" It's impressive how he simply plays along with our ruse. I know that he knows that we're not what we're pretending to be. He knows that I know that he's got our friend. And yet, we play our roles, acting a scene where neither of us knows how it will end. It's kind of fun, in a way. Most of the people I kill are either stupid or too surprised to make it very entertaining. This, however, is new. The game is afoot, and, despite the danger, I'm loving it. He turns and walks to a couple of fancy-looking chairs in the corner of this reception room. We follow, and the 2 burly men fall in behind us, closing the door. We're trapped. Intentionally. "Please, sit down," he says in his enchanting voice. "Would you like something to drink?" "No thanks, I don't fancy being poisoned." "We're good," I tell him with a wide smile. "This won't take long." "No, I think it won't." He replies smugly. Something presses against my back, and I whirl around, but before I can see how someone's touching me despite the 2 grunts being several feet away, my brain short-circuits, and I collapse to the floor. Regaining consciousness is a long and painful affair. My limbs are heavy and unresponsive, my brain a mess of scrambled thoughts. What the fuck happened? How did they take us down that easily? I'd made sure to keep a distance from both the siren and the men behind us. They didn't have weapons, not that I could see. Nothing long enough to poke us from behind, anyway. Whatever they did is something I've not encountered before. Slowly, the lethargy leaves my limbs and I manage to open my eyes and sit up. I'm in a small room, by myself, and utterly naked. Ugh, seriously? This is so textbook. They even removed the lockpicks I'd used to tie it up in a bun. They knew what they were doing. Double ugh. I staggered to my feet. Glad they haven't chained me up like they did to Lily and Bethany. The walls are painted white, just like the door, the floor, and the ceiling. The only non-white bit is a small chrome drain in the center of the room. It feels a bit like a lab. My heart starts beating faster. Please, no. Not a lab. I can deal with being tortured, but not being experimented on. The door doesn't budge when I press against it. Well, it was worth a try. There's a latch at the bottom of it, probably to push food in. My stomach growls at the thought. How long have I been here? It must have been a while. I wasn't hungry in the slightest when I entered the warehouse. I sit down and concentrate on my cat senses. Nothing. Not a sound, not a scent, except for the sharp smell of antiseptics. They've been thorough, as if they know precisely how to unsettle me. Life is full of sounds, smells, and tastes. If you're a shifter, even more so. I rely on my senses more than humans. Every second of the day, my mind catalogs new sensations and alerts me to anything that needs investigating. To be without any sense, any sounds at all, is terrifying. I focus on my heartbeat, trying to find peace in the regular rhythm. It's too fast, though. I'm not quite scared enough to make it beat this fast. So that means whatever they did to me earlier has had an effect on my circulatory system. I take a deep breath in and out, keeping my mind on my breathing. It helps a little with the absence of other stimulants for my senses. I keep thinking of Griffin, Riker, and Benjamin, but I try hard to stay away from those thoughts. They only make things worse. I'm sure the guys can handle themselves. If this is the pack, they'll be far more interested in me than in the men. The one thing I'm glad about is that Dr. Grandma is dead. The woman who created me, who created my siblings. It's a small relief, but it's better than nothing. She's not going to be able to hurt me. Other people can't be as bad as her, right? They leave me in that room for what feels like at least a day. My throat is parched, my stomach has given up growling, and my eyes are dropping with tiredness. I don't allow myself to sleep, though. I need to stay awake, ready to attack whoever enters my room. I need to escape, need to get out of here and free Benjamin. That's the whole point why I'm here. I shift position for the 100th time. The floor is cold and hard, but somehow I keep hoping that another spot on it might be a little comfier. I'd be more comfortable if I shifted, but I don't want to spend energy on that. Besides, I'm better at escaping as a human. My panther is strong and dangerous, but not good at being subtle when killing people. How long are they going to keep me waiting? Until I fall asleep? Until I'm too weak to put up much resistance? Well, they're going to have to wait for a while. I'm not giving in that easily. Seconds pass like hours, minutes like days. I'm tired, I'm hungry, I'm fed up with being here. Now would be a good time for someone to break me out of here, but since I don't really think anyone will do that, I shall have to break myself out. Once they open this door, obviously. And then I'm going to free Benjamin and the guys and take revenge on our captors, starting with that siren. My eyes are itching with sleepiness. I start walking around my cell, counting the steps. Then I walk backwards and see if my count matches. Then I walk on my hands and do some stretches and punch the air imagining that it's the siren. By the end of my workout, I'm a tiny bit less tired, but also a lot more exhausted. All I want is to curl up and sleep. But no, I can't do that. Need to stay awake. Need to be ready to fight. There are no windows, and I don't wear a watch, but my inner clock is pretty accurate. 31 hours, it tells me. No wonder I'm ready to drink a river full of water followed by eating a pig or two. When I was still with the pack, I was used to going for long times without food, but now I've become used to regular meals and as much as I want to eat. I guess I've grown soft. The air in this small room is starting to get stuffy. There's no vent to let in fresh air except for the tiny gap underneath the door. The drain isn't any use either. It carries a minuscule trickle of murky water, but I've not managed to pry off the grate. I've relieved myself over it once, but since I've not had any fluids, I've not had to go more than that one time. Hopefully, my intestines take pity on me and don't make me do a number 2 in here. I can't suppress a yawn. When are they finally going to come to torture me? I'm bored, I shout as loud as I can. My throat hurts from lack of water, but that can't be helped. Nobody replies. Of course not. By now, I've figured out that this room is completely soundproof, neither letting sounds in nor out. All I can hear is my own heartbeat and breathing. As I said, I'm bored. I only realize that I've fallen asleep when the door opens. I jump up, a little unsteady on my feet. How long has it been? Did I sleep for long? Fuck! I shouldn't have let myself do that. I was supposed to stay awake. The siren enters, flanked by his 2 guards. One of them is holding a long silver rod with a strange flickering light on its end. It must be some sort of weapon, but not like any I've ever seen before. Do sit down, the siren says in his soft, melodic voice. You look like you're about to keel over. I glare at him and stay standing, but I take one step back so I can lean against the wall. He shrugs. Suit yourself. I won't stay long anyway. He rummages in his suit pocket and pulls out a crumpled piece of paper. K1, he reads. Termination has been recommended multiple times, but it has been kept alive as a control subject for now. K1 refuses to comply with her training. Measures will have to be taken. He looks up to observe my reaction. Measures? What were those? I don't reply. He shrugs and continues. With age, K1 is becoming more rebellious. Her self-awareness is also increasing. It is no longer safe to keep her in proximity with the other clones. DG recommends exposing her to a new experiment to test K1's independence and problem-solving. Termination may be approved should said experiment fail. A shiver runs down my back. He keeps saying that word. Termination. Killing me. Is that what he's about to do? It's kind of disappointing. He could have done that while I was unconscious. Do you know what experiment I'm talking about? His eyes are cold as they fix on my face, looking for any kind of emotion that I may show. Well, he's in for disappointment. I'm good at hiding what I feel, even though my insides are clenched with fear, because I have no idea what experiment he's on about. I don't remember ever being part of an experiment while I was at the pack. Yes, sometimes they'd take some blood and measure my reactions, but I don't think that's what he's talking about. I'm afraid that this is the end of the experiment, the man says with a smile that might be interpreted as kind if his eyes weren't so cold. We cannot let it continue, not after the little stunt you pulled at the research facility. I'm having trouble following what he's saying. He's talking as if there's an experiment just now, but all they've done is put me in an empty room and let me stew in my own thoughts for a while. Not exactly very dramatic. Professor Lakefield had high hopes that you might eventually succeed in showing your full potential. But now that he's gone and I'm the one in charge, I think it's time to stop being sentimental and simply end this process. Lakefield. Griffin mentioned him. The man who trained Grandma Doctor, the one who was involved in setting up the cloning. So he's gone? That's good news, right? Him and Grandma Doctor both being out of the picture should make me feel relieved. But having this new guy staring at me as if I'm a lab rat is not exactly making me happy. Then why am I still alive? I ask, my voice almost too hoarse to be heard. If you want to kill me, you've had enough chances to do so. Trust me, You'd be dead already if I didn't need you as insurance. I shoot him a questioning glance. I hate that I don't get what he's talking about. I need more information, but he's the only one who can provide me with it. I was rather surprised to find a siren in your employ, especially one of such pedigree. He's refusing to cooperate right now, which is the only reason why you're still alive. Hurting you a little might make him come to his senses. He gestures to one of the men behind him, who pulls out a camera and points it at me. Please try and scream a little, the siren says with a smile and steps aside, letting the man with the silver rod approach me. I move away from him, but the room is too small to let me evade him, and besides, I'm too weak to show much resistance. Wait, how do I switch this thing on? The guy with the camera asks. I guess these men weren't chosen because of their intelligence. While the siren grunts in annoyance and shows him how to press a button, I keep my eyes fixed on the man with the rod. The light at the end seems to ebb brighter in waves as if the electricity inside of it is fluctuating. Curious. It looks pretty, but not pretty enough to want to touch it. Who knows? This could be the same weapon they used to knock me unconscious. The click of the camera makes me whirl around. Stupid instincts. The movement is too much. My legs buckle, I trip, fall, end up on the floor. My naked skin protests at the sudden contact, but then the rod is pressed into my side, and pain is all I feel. I scream, my voice sucked up by the soundproof room, and somehow that makes the pain so much worse. Nobody can hear me scream. I'm alone, in pain, and they're using this very fact to hurt Griffin. I curl into a ball, barely hanging on to consciousness. Something hits my thigh, hard and painful. It's the last drop of water in my barrel of pain. Darkness welcomes me, and I let it embrace me. Chapter 13. Cold water kisses my skin, and I come to life, staring at my surroundings with wide, itchy eyes. Two legs close to me, ready to be attacked. Except that my body isn't cooperating. Just like before, I'm paralyzed, and I can't even evade the icy water that is being poured over me. I just about manage to turn my head to avoid it hitting my nose and mouth, but the rest of me isn't so lucky. The cold seeps into my bones, and shivers start making me tremble. Wasn't the rod poking enough? Do they now have to resort to this? Now you can drink. The man chuckles darkly and steps away. The door falls shut behind him, leaving me alone in my white, empty room. I hear the water trickle towards the drain. It's going to be all gone soon. I need to drink. I need fluids to keep functioning. I try to turn, to let my tongue touch the floor, but my body is refusing to budge. All I can do is lie there, listening as the water disappears, increasing my thirst with every drop falling down the drain. Nobody comes to see me again. No more water, no more strange talk of experiments. I let myself drift, no longer caring about what's happening to me. If I'm really a bargaining chip for making Griffin do what they want, they're going to have to keep me alive. That's what I'm telling myself. They won't let me die. They can't. Right? My stomach has knotted itself into a ball. My hunger has disappeared, leaving behind a strange emptiness. I'm still thirsty, though. The water on my skin has dried. I wish I had some sort of amphibian shifter powers that would allow me to soak up water through my skin. When someone finally opens the door again, I don't even look up. I need to preserve my strength. Not that I've got enough to escape, but I might be able to land a single hit on that siren's nose. It would be satisfying, even if it was the last thing I did. Going out with a bang and a bit of blood. A bowl is placed near my head. Then the footsteps walk away from me once more, and the door is closed. I sniff. Food. Nothing special. Some motes and water. But it's the first meal I've had in over 2 days, so I don't really care. I push myself up until I'm sitting against the wall and start slurping the gruel. It's absolutely tasteless. The siren's cook should be fired. At least it doesn't taste of any poison that I know of. As I said, they don't want me dead. Yet. It takes my throat a while to open up enough to let some food through. I wish there was more water in the porridge. Dying of thirst is much easier than dying of hunger. I could still live a few days without food, but not without water. My body is that of a shifter, and I use up a lot more energy than humans. I need to be fed regularly to keep up my strength. When I'm done, I lick the bowl clean, not wasting a single drop. This might be the difference between life and death, and I'm a survivor. I lean back, turning the bowl in my hands. It's not heavy enough to be used as a weapon, but that won't stop me from trying. I will get out of here, one way or another. 4 days, 8 bowls of tasteless porridge, 4 bottles of water, 1 very bored cat. Time passes slowly and without pity. The siren doesn't come to visit me again. My food is brought by one of his lackeys, but they never talk to me. They're not letting me starve, but they're also not giving me enough food to let me keep my strength. I'm growing weaker every day, even though I'm trying to keep myself busy with exercises, shadow boxing, and random shouting matches with the walls. I rub my knuckles. Yesterday I punched the door in a moment of desperate madness. It didn't budge, obviously, and I didn't feel any better after. With me being so weak, my body is taking its time to heal the bruising. I scratch the back of my neck. I need a shower. My hair is oily and dry at the same time, while my armpits are starting to give off a decidedly yucky smell. Maybe it would be better if I shifted and used my long cat tongue to lick myself clean, but I'm not sure I would even survive a shift in my current condition. It would need too much energy. The door clicks open without warning. This is too early for more food. They've been delivering it always at the same times, every 12 hours. Not even 4 hours have passed since the last visit, so this must be something else. I scramble to my feet, the bowl in my hand. I might just throw it at whoever comes in, just to make me feel better. It's the siren. One of his men puts a chair in the center of the room, then joins his comrade by the door, making sure I don't escape. As if I could. The siren sits down on the chair, crosses his legs, and purses his fingers beneath his chin. Textbook villain. Do they teach that kind of behavior somewhere? Is there a villain academy? You don't look too good, he observes, his eyes running over my body. And whose fault is that? I spit, glad my voice isn't quite as hoarse today. He shrugs. You should be grateful that I'm feeding you at all. If this were up to just me, you'd be a corpse drifting in the river by now. So he's not the one in charge, or at least not the only one. That's good to know. Our mutual friend insists on proof of life, so please smile for the camera. One of the brutes has his camera pointed at me once again, but at least this time, they're not using the metal rod on me. I'm tempted to cover my nakedness with my hands, but it's not like they've had ample chance to stare at me for the past couple of days. By now, I'm not really bothered about my clothes being gone. What I would like is a blanket to hide under. I've been told it was a mistake to interrupt the experiment, but it can't be helped now. We have ways to make you forget, and we've used those on you too many times to count. But this time, there are other people involved. Your friends have been searching for you. Even if I make you forget, I can't do that to every single cat in this town. They're searching for me. The cats. Hopefully, Lennox, Lily, and Bethany too, if they all made it back to our home in one piece. I hope he hasn't hurt Benjamin. The thief is human, so he won't be of much use to the pack. I doubt they needed him for anything more than a lure to get us here. Hopefully, that doesn't mean that they see him as expendable. Griffin still seems to be in captivity, but has Riker managed to escape to mobilize his cats? I really hope so. That would mean 2 of my men are safe. When he doesn't continue, I take the initiative. What happens now? He smirks. The 2 of us are going to have a chat. Aren't we doing that just now? His grin widens. No, we're not. Not the kind of chat I'm planning to have with you. You'll have to be more clear. I try and seem as confident as I possibly can, but the slight quiver in my legs betrays me. We're going to go to the lab and have our chat there, like we always used to. Oh, but you can't remember that, can you? It's not a question. He knows that I can't remember, if this ever actually happened, which I doubt. I've never seen you before. I snarl from between clenched teeth. But you have, he replies cheerily. You always call me such lovely names. Quite the wildcat, aren't you? I'm going to miss our little chats. They were always so much fun. It's hard to hide my confusion. I have no idea what he's on about. He waves one of his guards forward, who's suddenly wielding that silver rod again. Fuck. No. I'll follow you, I say quickly. No need for that. I don't think his grin could get any wider. Oh, but I love to hear you scream. He nods at the grunt, and before I can even brace myself, the rod is slammed against my ribs, and pain is all I can feel. This is becoming a frustrating tradition. Waking unable to move, the taste of blood in my mouth, the memory of pain still fresh in my mind. Except that this time, I'm not in my cell. I'm on a chair, my arms and legs strapped to it with thick leather bands. I dimly remember seeing such a chair at the Pack Research Building, but since we burned down that building, this has to be somewhere else. There are no windows in this room, and just like my cell, it seems to be soundproof, meaning I have no idea where I am. For all I know, I could still be in the warehouse. I'm alone in the room. At least that gives me the chance to look around while my body is still recovering from the paralysis. It's a lab. There's no doubt about that. We've got some of the instruments lying on tables and shelves in our Meow lab, but a lot of them I don't recognize. 2 large metal tables are to my right, while to my left is a desk and the door leading to freedom. The lights above me are bright and harsh, making my skin look pale and sickly. Or maybe that's what my skin actually looks like just now. I guess I should be glad that there's no blood splatters on the floor or dissected body parts in glass jars. This lab is clean and tidy, not looking like they're regularly murdering cat shifters in here. Maybe I'll be the first. After some compulsory struggling against my bonds, I lay back and wait. I'm bored by the time the door finally opens and the siren enters. I realize I still don't know his name, but then I don't really care. I won't send him a thank you card anytime soon. I hope you're comfortable, he asks with a fake smile and takes a seat on a high-back desk chair. He almost makes it look like a throne. Do you recognize this room? I don't reply. I take that as a no. Curious how well the conditioning still works. Some of us, not me though, thought you'd start to remember as soon as you were no longer subjected to our stimuli, but it seems they were wrong. I'm rather glad about this. It means I can surprise you. Surprise me with what? The truth. He clucks his tongue. But I think we should do some tests first. You won't be happy to do them after I've told you everything. I'm not happy now either. I growl. He ignores me and gets up from his chair. He rummages in one of the desk drawers until he finds a couple of photos. They're old, their corners yellowed. He waves one of them in my face. Do you recognize her? It's a woman wearing a lab coat, her hair held in a tight knot on top of her head. She looks angry and very familiar. A young version of Grandma Doctor. I'm not going to say that name out loud, though. It seems wrong to call her such an innocent thing. I rake my mind for her actual name, the one Griffin told me. Jane, Jasmine, something with a J, and then Fitzroy. Dr. Fitzroy, I ask, mostly because I'm curious and want to explain what's going on. If he wants to give me information, then I'll gladly accept it. Every tidbit might help me in bringing down the pack. Very good. What about him? The next photograph shows a young man, also in a lab coat, with thick glasses and a strangely blank face. No idea. Curious, he mutters, but doesn't comment any further. Him? Another young man that I don't recognize. I shake my head. How about her? He shows me a picture of myself sitting on a bench on a sunny day. Very funny. He doesn't smile. Look closer. I frown and focus back on the picture. The clothes. I'm not sure I own a pair of jeans like that. And her hair is longer than mine. There is a certain sadness around her eyes, thin lines that aren't on my face. This isn't me. I want to reach for the picture, but I'm bound to the chair. Frustrated, I lean forward as much as I can. The woman on the photo can't be one of the clones. She's as old as I am now, or maybe a few years older. Since all my clones are younger than me, that means she's the original. The siren whispers dramatically, confirming my suspicions. The template for you and all the other K subjects. I can't look away from the picture. That's me, and yet not me. With Little Cat, it was different. She's a younger version of myself, but when I look at her, I don't see me like I am now. I probably looked like her when I was her age, but I can't remember. It's not like you memorize whatever you look like every time you stare into your face in a mirror. This was taken on the day we created you, your birthday, so to speak. It was always our goal to have you reach the same age as your original, to then compare the measurements we took on that day 22 years ago. Sadly, I don't think you're going to survive that long. He actually looks a little disappointed. If you want the data, why not let me live? You wouldn't like that. What you've experienced in the past few days is only a small taste of what your future here would be like. You should call yourself lucky if I release you from your pain soon. How very ominous. I growl at him. How about you don't inflict any pain on me, and I'll let you live? I'm afraid that's not possible. If you hadn't destroyed one of our research facilities, I might be able to keep you alive for a little longer. But now, you've proved that you can be too dangerous and unpredictable. We always assumed you'd one day start attacking the pack, but we didn't expect you to gather allies to help you. All case subjects were raised to be self-sufficient and without personal relationships, so I have to say, we were all rather surprised by that. Finding employees, making friends, getting others to fight on your side. Those are all highly unusual behaviors for one of your kind. He's wrong. Little Cat loves the company of others. I might not be a very social person, but I can appreciate cooperating with others to achieve a goal. Who am I kidding? I do like having my meow folks around. They're my friends, even though it still surprised me how they turned into that. It's not like I ever really tried to be their friend. It just happened. He pulls another picture from the stack and shows it to me. An elderly man with a top hat and scars on his face. A man I recognize immediately. Mystery Man. The guy who made Meow possible. Who gave me money. Who left me his house and his will. Who I thought was an enemy of the pack. You look like you recognize Professor Lakefield. Say hello to your creator. I stare at the siren as my world crumbles into dust. Chapter 14. The physical pain they've caused me is nothing compared to the mental pain I feel tearing at my heart just now. It's all been a lie. Mystery Man, my benefactor, worked for the pack. He created me. I was probably sent to him by his own orders, and I fell for it. The siren is quiet, leaving me to my thoughts. He's rummaging around, and I'm pretty sure he's doing it on purpose, letting the truth set in. I've been betrayed. I've never been free. I've never had the life I thought I had. It's all been engineered by the same man who created me in a lab. They sent me to kill him, but it was just a game. He'd always planned to set me free, but on his terms. They knew I was planning to escape, and to prevent that, they loosened the leash just enough for me to feel safe. All those cases Mystery Man gave me, all those people I killed. He told me that some of them were part of the pack, that their deaths would help get me closer to bringing them down. Now that I know who he was, I can only imagine who I killed. Probably people who were working against the pack. And I assassinated them. I never stopped being their weapon. Did he ever actually have a granddaughter? Did he really die and leave me the house? Or was that all part of the same game? My life is a lie. My freedom an illusion. I'm just a puppet whose strings have been loosened for a moment, but they're still there, and now that I'm in the hands of the siren, the strings are taut again, ready to control me, make me dance for them. Except that I'm done. No more. My options are clear. I can submit to him, let him kill me, or I can fight and take my life back, forge it anew, and if I die in the process, then that's fine. At least I died fighting for my dreams. No more. I snarl at the siren. It's not working. He seems a little taken aback. What do you mean? You trying to break me. I know what you're doing, and it's not working. I don't care that I've been betrayed. I don't care that you've let me escape, because it's all been training for me. You've helped me become the person I am now, someone who's not afraid. He shrugs. It doesn't matter what you think. What matters is that you're here now, and that you're back under my control. I couldn't care less what you think in your final moments. I smile at him. But you do. You get off on it. I can smell your arousal. You're a psychopath. You feed off hurting others. But you can't hurt me anymore. You've just told me the worst thing I could hear. Which means that now, there's nothing worse you can do. And here I am, smiling at you. His mask slips. He's not as good as me at hiding his thoughts. He looks disappointed, crestfallen. I laugh. You wanted this to be a victory, yet it's become your greatest failure. You thought this would break me, but, in fact, it puts me back together. I feel strong, stronger than ever before, like a switch has been flicked inside of me, one I never knew even existed. I close my eyes and pull my cat to the surface. Those bounds may be strong enough to hold a human, but they're no match for me. Raw power is coursing through my veins. I lift my right arm and the leather cuff rips open. The siren staggers back, his eyes wide. Bet he didn't expect this to happen. He probably regrets that he didn't take his goons in here with him. He's alone with me, with a rabid shifter thirsting for revenge. He tries to get away, but I'm too fast. My fingernails turn to claws and make quick work of the remaining bonds. I'm free and ready to kill. With a snarl, I jump, reaching the siren just before his hand touches the doorknob. We tumble to the ground, me on his back, and then my teeth are at his neck. He stinks of fear. Griffin was right. Sirens pull the strings, but rarely get their hands dirty. This man is likely not wearing a single weapon. Remember this. I hiss into his ear. You made me. You did this to yourself. and then I shift and rip out his throat. I leave a trail of blood in my wake. The siren was only the first. I tore open the first grunt's belly, watching as he tried to keep his intestines inside of him. I let him struggle, leaving him to a long and painful death. I doubt even his healing powers are strong enough to restore that much damage. The second man tried to stab me with his silver rod, but I ripped off his head before he could touch me. 2 others waited for me at the top of the stairs. I slashed open their throats, enjoying their gurgling sounds as they cursed me with their dying breath. I'm covered in blood, none of it mine. I'm a killer, and I've only just begun. The house is empty now, but I smell other humans nearby, and among their scents, Riker. I don't bother with the door. Instead, I jump out of a window, ignoring the small cuts of glass against my skin. The scent leads me to the neighboring house, painted a bright blue. 3 men and 1 woman meet me in the garden, brandishing swords and more of the metal rods, but they're no challenge to me. I rip them apart and don't mind the taste of blood at all. The woman's blood is sweet. She's not quite human, just like what little cat described. I feel like I want more of it, drink my fill, but other humans are preparing to fight me, and I need to make sure none of them hurt my Riker. I barge into the house through the open door. Thanks for leaving that open, dead people. The hallway is narrow, letting only one of the humans attack me at a time. The house is full of them, at least 15, although some of them might be those mutants whose scent I can't tell apart from humans. Even better. The more of them I kill, the fewer can hurt people I like. 3, 4, they all die. One of them manages to nip my skin with his dagger, but I barely feel it. My large paws step onto their corpses, my claws sinking into dead flesh. It's a pity my fur is black. It doesn't show the blood as nicely as Linux's white fur would. I sniff the air. Riker is down below, probably held in the basement just like I was in the other house. Maybe he's even got the same cell. I growl at the thought of my proud cat being imprisoned, starved, maybe even tortured. That mental image makes me rear up and race down the stairs. There's a giant man waiting at the bottom of the steps, brandishing 2 axes at once. He may have been a challenge before, but not anymore. I jump, twisting in the air to avoid his blades, then wrap my jaws around his neck and bite. He sinks to the ground, his body twitching. Knowing that he's one of the mutants, the size of him kind of gives it away. I tear off his head, kicking it down the corridor like a ball. A polished black shoe stops it, pressing it down onto the floor. I look up at the man stopping my game. Another siren. He seems vaguely familiar, with his pale blonde mop of hair and turgid face. A smirk curves his lips as if he's enjoying the carnage I have wrought. "You should stop now," he says in a soft voice, reminding me of the other siren. "You wouldn't want me to hurt your friend." His accent is posh, and I could easily imagine him as a politician, controlling the humans of this town. I snarl at him, ready to tear out his throat. I love doing that. The spray of blood, the gurgling sound, the fear in their eyes, as they realize that there's no way back from this. A whimpered meow makes me back down. Riker, he's in pain. Foam starts to build around my fangs. They hurt him. They're all going to die. One step further, and they will kill him. He could be bluffing, but even in my frenzied state, I'm scared to risk that. I stop, my body tense, ready to spring into action as soon as I think it's safe. Not safe for me, but for Riker. "How did you escape?" he asks me, even though he must be aware that I can't answer while I'm shifted. "No matter. I've got you now, and I should be glad you've killed David. He was getting a pain in the arse." I growl. He doesn't have me. I won't submit to him. I'm just biding my time until I know that Riker isn't in immediate danger. My senses tell me that there are 2 humans with Riker in a room not far from here. It can't be the same soundproof room I was kept in, since I can hear their heartbeats and smell their sweat. They're scared. How lovely. That's going to make this even more fun. It's always more entertaining when your prey is panicked before it dies. All that stands between them and me is this turd-faced blonde wretch, but not for much longer. I growl once again, pleased that his heartbeat increases a little. He's not as calm as he makes out to be. He's right to be scared. I'm so close to biting off his dick. Shift back, he commands. Then we can talk about what to do next. I flash my sharp teeth at him instead. No chance am I shifting. I've never felt so alive, so right as a panther. This is the real me, the real cat. Footsteps approach from behind him, and a moment later, one of his guards turns around the corner. He's the biggest one yet, so broad his shoulders touch the walls of the corridor. How does he find clothes that fit him? "Do you need any assistance, sir?" he asks in a deep, burly voice. He sounds surprisingly intelligent for one of those brutes. "Yes, stay here. This little kitten is trying to show me her claws." Did this fucker just call me a kitten? I lunge, no longer thinking straight. My claws rake across his face, ripping out one of his eyes in the process. With my hind legs, I push against the big man, just about managing to have him stumble back. He's too strong to be brought down, but it gives me enough time to bring my jaws around the blonde man's throat and squeeze them shut. I need to be fast now. Riker might be in danger. I launch myself at the big man, but suddenly he pulls a knife from somewhere and holds it out. I can't stop myself in time, and it slices into my abdomen. I howl in pain, but it's only a dim echo of the strangled sound the man makes when I push my left hind paw into his groin and extend my claws as far as I can. This time, he goes down, landing on his back, grunting at the impact. Then I rip my claws down, and all he can do is scream as I sever his cock from his miserable body. For good measure, I also bite his throat and slice open his stomach, then step away to inspect my own wound. It's deep, but it doesn't seem to have hit any vital organs. It's bleeding a lot, but it will heal. Nothing I can do much about right now. Staying in my panther body will help. I heal faster like this. The wound slows me down, but not enough to stop me entirely. I grit my teeth, ignoring the pain as much as possible, and follow Riker's scent. There's one human with him. Even injured, that shouldn't be a problem. On the contrary, I'm looking forward to my next kill. My thirst for revenge isn't nearly sated yet. There will be more deaths. Lots of them. As soon as I round a corner, a skinny man runs at me, brandishing 2 curved knives. How disappointing. He's not even one of those brutes. He looks entirely human and smells like it too. Blood is coating his hands, but it's not human blood. My heart beats faster. This man has hurt Riker. I'm going to hurt him so much. I launch myself at him, trying not to focus on the stinging pain in my abdomen. I hate being wounded. Luckily, it doesn't happen very often. He's fast, evading me by dropping to the ground and executing an elegant backwards roll. He jumps into a crouch, his knives pointing at me. Call me impressed. Not enough to let him live, though. With a growl, I jump at him again, holding out one paw to deflect his attacks while using the other to strike. He turns to his right, but not fast enough to escape my sharp claws. They rake through his clothes and tear into his skin, cutting through one of his nipples in the process. I feel a little guilty about that. I wouldn't want anyone to cut my nipples in half. The man screams and I use his momentary distraction to embed my claws deep into his chest. He feebly tries to lift his knives, but it's too late. I rip open his chest, exposing his heart. It takes one last beat, a contraction of the body's most beautiful muscle, then it shudders to a stop. The man is dead, and I'm fighting the urge to eat his heart. Fuck. I need to focus on my human side. I'm turning too feral. But then I hear Riker scream, and all those thoughts go out of the window. He needs me. Not the human, but the predator in me. And I'm going to save him. Chapter 15. Riker's cell isn't as quite as white as my own was. His walls are a pale gray, and he's even got a bucket, not just a drain. Luxury. The downside is that he's chained to the floor by a thick iron chain. Very medieval. They've put a collar around his neck, but I sigh in relief when I see it's not one of the mind control collars. This one seems to be just normal metal, wrapped around his throat to keep him in check. He's also got bronze cuffs around his wrists. I recognize those. They prevent you from shifting. I wonder why they never put those on me. Maybe by starving me, they knew I'd be too weak to shift. Well, until they broke me and crushed the barrier that was keeping me from gaining my full strength. That isn't to say that I'm not hungry, but at least I won't collapse anytime soon. Riker is curled up on the floor, but his heartbeat is steady. He's alive, hopefully just unconscious. I bump my head against his back. He groans. His eyelids flutter open, but he seems too exhausted to keep them open for long. What have they done to him? He screamed in pain not long ago. Maybe it was one of those rods. That would explain why he's so drowsy. Poor kitty. But how the heck am I going to get him out of here? He's too heavy to carry. If he was shifted, I could carry him by the scruff of his neck, like a mother panther does with her cubs. For that, I'd need to get his cuffs off first, though, and there's no way I'm going to achieve that unless I turn human. That's too dangerous, though. Who knows what state I'll be in once I shift. I hate to admit it, but what I need is help. I'm going to come back. I meow at Riker. His mouth twitches as if he's trying to reply, but he's too weak to speak. If I hadn't already killed everyone in this house, I'd do it all over again. I rub my nose against his skin one more time, then turn and run upstairs and out into the garden. Bloody corpses stare at me accusingly. I kick one of them in retribution, before meowing as loud as I can, calling for any cats in the vicinity. It only takes 30 seconds before one shows up, a gray tabby with a missing ear. He inclines his head when he approaches me. How very polite. I like him. Are you one of Riker's? I ask, not wasting time on introductions.
I'm not, but I know cats who are. How can I be of assistance?
Curious. A cat who isn't part of Riker's family. I wonder what stopped him from joining. Maybe he's a loner. Hopefully, he's trustworthy. I need you to find some of Riker's cats and tell them to get cats humans. They'll know what that means. And tell them to hurry.
What's in it for me?
Ugh, cats. A month's supply of catnip. I concede grudgingly.
Deal.
Hurry, I reminded him. This is important. The tabby nods and jumps off. I really, really hope he's going to do his job. While waiting, I stake out the area. There are a few humans in the neighboring buildings, but none of them is Benjamin, and they don't smell like they've ever been in contact with the people I killed. As much as my thirst for blood pushes me to kill them all, kill every single human in this street, my desire to protect Riker and stay close to him wins. I explore the house, hoping to catch a whiff of Griffin's scent. I've found Riker, but my siren is still missing. He must be alive, though, from what the other siren said. As soon as I've got Riker to a place of safety, I'm going to search for Griffin. A place of safety. I huff and shake my body, ruffling my fur. The Meow headquarters will no longer feel safe. They're part of the setup, the lie that made me believe that I had a home of my own. Not anymore. Pack money paid for that house, which means I don't want it. I know there are no bugs in there. I checked for that when I first moved in. That doesn't mean that we're not under surveillance. And who knows what kind of surprises they've hidden in the building. If I were them, I'd add a way to end the experiment if it was to fail. Like explosives underneath the house. Let's hope they didn't think like that. But I lived with the pack for long enough to know that's precisely what they do. As soon as Riker is conscious again, we're going to have to get our belongings and find a new home. My chest aches at the thought. For the first time in my life, I'd had home. A place I felt safe. One I'd made into my own little assassin headquarters. They've taken that from me. As if it's not enough to know truths that broke my heart, they also had to take my home. With no sign of any cats, I return to the basement and snuggle against Riker. He groans softly, but he's still not able to talk. I wrap my body around him protectively, hoping he'll be able to feel my presence. You're safe now, I whisper as quietly as a panther can. I'm going to make sure they'll never hurt us again. And I will. I'm going to find us a new home. I'm going to destroy the pack. And I'm going to save my sisters. By the time the others arrive, Riker has started to stir. I don't feel like moving at all. My belly hurts. The wound isn't healing fast enough. If any of the pack people came back, I'd have a hard time defending us. Luckily, though, I recognize my team's scent before they make it down into the basement. Before I can even turn, Lennox has me in his arms, holding me tight. He runs his fingers through my fur, telling me through touch alone how much he's missed me. Beth kneels by Riker's side and starts examining the cat, while Lily adds one hand to Lennox's, stroking me. Her other arm is in a cast, so I guess it must be broken. You're hurt, she mutters. That looks bad. It feels bad, too. It should be less inflamed by now, but I think it's getting worse. I hope there wasn't any poison on the blades. I didn't smell any, but I'm beginning to realize that doesn't mean anything. The pack has aces up their sleeves that I have no idea about, like the mutant humans who smell human but have abilities only shifters should have.
Is Griffin here too?
Lily asks. I tiredly shake my head. Lennox uses that moment to lift my head into his lap, scratching me behind the ears just the way I like it. At least we have the two of you back, Lennox says, his voice strangely choked. Is he emotional? Aw, my wolf missed me.
He seems fine, just exhausted,
Beth reports, having finished her examination of Riker.
But we should get you out of here soon so that you can recover. We only have one problem with that.
I look at her properly for the first time. Something's changed, and I doubt it was intentional. Getting a haircut while your friends are missing is something I doubt even Bethany would do. She grimaces when she notices me staring at her hair. Half of it is missing.
Yeah, about that. We had a bit of a fire.
I growl in frustration. The pack attacked my home while I was held prisoner. Lennox increases his ear scratching to calm me down. The house is gone, he whispers. We managed to get some things out before it all caught fire, but it's no longer habitable. We lost all the research Bethany has been doing on clones. Benjamin. I lift my head in surprise. Benjamin is with them? Yes. He managed to escape on his own. Lennox answers my unspoken question. They underestimated him, thinking he's just a weak human. He made his way back to us 3 days ago. Right now, he's keeping guard at our new home. I have so many questions, but I'm tired. So tired. I let my eyelids fall shut and doze, barely listening to my friends' voices around me. I need to regain my strength before I can shift and get out of here. But at least I've killed everyone who might try to hurt us. At some point, Riker is taken out of my arms. I struggle, instinctively wanting to keep him close, but Lennox's strong grip prevents me from doing anything. You need to shift, he whispers gently. I can't carry you home otherwise. I can walk, I try to say, but not even a simple meow leaves my lips. Pain shoots through my belly when I try to get up, and I've still got my eyes closed. Not a good way to do it. I let myself fall down to the hard ground again, hating the weakness that's suddenly weighing down my limbs. Not long ago, I was stronger than I'd ever been before. Now, I'm the opposite. Shift, Cat. Please, shift. I can't. There's no energy to initiate the shift. That wound is sucking out all my energy, leaving me tired and paralyzed. It must be poison. Hopefully, Bethany has an antidote. Oh no. The house burned down. Did she manage to get her supplies? What if she doesn't have any of her poisons and antidotes? That would be a hard blow to Meow, and maybe even a death sentence to me right now. What if we put the cuffs on her? Would that force her to shift back? No, I want to growl. That's a terrible idea. But words are hard to form. I drift off, no longer aware of what is happening around me. My last conscious thought is that this may have been my last thought, ever. Chapter 16. I wake sandwiched between two warm bodies. Almost too hot, but not quite enough to make me want to get up. Instead of speaking and destroying this sweet moment of happiness, I simply lie there, listening to their heartbeats and enjoying their touch. I'm rather happy to be still alive. I no longer feel any pain in my abdomen, so it seems my body has either healed itself or has had some help from Bethany or someone else. You awake? Riker mutters sleepily. Mm-hmm. That's as far as my vocal abilities go right now. I want to ask him how he feels, but I don't sense any distress or pain from him, and his breathing and heartbeat are nice and steady. He's all right. Thank the big fat cat in the sky. How are you feeling? Lennox whispers from behind me. His hot breath strokes my neck in the most delicious way. Maybe I can entice him to lick me there, and maybe do some more lovely things, as long as I don't have to move. Mm-hmm. He chuckles. I'll take that as meaning good. I'm glad you're back amongst the living. Mm-hmm. The blade you were stabbed with was poisoned. Luckily, Bethany had some antidotes here, but to carry you out of that house, Lily had to put those cuffs on you. They made you shift, but it didn't look very pleasant. I try to remember, but it's all a hazy fog. That's probably a good thing. It sounds like it would have hurt. A lot. Anyway, we got the two of you back here, and then Bethany managed to get the poison out of your bloodstream. Your body was really cold, though, so we volunteered to warm you up. Riker laughs softly. It was such a terrible sacrifice. I bet. I love the way their bodies perfectly mold against mine. The only thing missing is Griffin. Where are we? I mutter sleepily, my words slurred. Lennox winces. Our new home. For now, anyway. It's a wagon, a big one. Benjamin bought it from a circus performer that he knew. We thought it would be good to have a home that can be moved, if needs be. A bloody wagon. A few days ago, I was happily living in a big house, content and making plans to improve it. Now, we're practically homeless. And it's all because of the pack. I'm going to bring them down, taking them apart one by one, ripping them to pieces, making sure they know that it was me who brought their demise. And then, I'm going to be happy, safe. For the first time in my life, I'll feel properly safe. I got close to that feeling in my old house, but I was never entirely relaxed. There is always the danger that something might happen, that the pack might come after me. Now I know how right I was to fear them. Lennox wraps an arm around my waist, pulling me even closer. We're going to make this our home until we find somewhere better. And at least we're all together now. We're not. Griffin isn't here. The two men stay silent. What? Did he escape? God, Riker says softly and very carefully, as if he expects me to explode any moment now. My cots have seen him. He was walking around near the pack headquarters, alone, without guards. I'm sorry, but they said he didn't look like a prisoner. They must have been mistaken. I snap, sounding more aggressive than I would like to. They took pictures of me as proof of life. They were blackmailing him, forcing him to do whatever they want. Then why isn't he back yet? Lennox asks, his voice neutral. By now, he should know that you escaped. You killed over a dozen people. News of that would have spread quickly. If all they had as leverage on him was you, then he could have left by now. Maybe they imprisoned him as soon as they knew that I escaped. Maybe he's in a cell now, waiting for us to rescue him. I ball my fists, forcing myself to believe that. Or maybe he's searching for us right now. He might be at the old house, not knowing where we are now. We should go back and leave a message for him. Make sure that he knows where to find us. My cats are monitoring the house. Riker interrupts. He's not been there. If he does come to the house, they'll lead him here, don't worry. But so far, he's not showed up. Then they have him locked up. I whisper. We need to break him out. Lennox clears his throat. Cat, do you think there's a chance that Griffin is part of it? One of them? That he's joined our group simply to spy on us? My stomach churns. No, I refuse to believe that. Not Griffin. He's my friend. He's more than that. We've been naked together. We've explored each other inside out. I know him, and I know that he's not a traitor. No, is all I say. No. Neither of the guys replies, and I kind of hate them for it. They should be reassuring me that Griffin is indeed one of us, that he's not betrayed us. But their silence speaks of their doubts. I sit up, leaving their reassuring warmth. There's only one way to find out. We have to find him. Riker yawns and pulls the duvet closer. Finding him isn't the problem. My cats have already done that. It's getting to him without being spotted. He's in their headquarters, and they've increased their guards. There's no way of sneaking in that I can see. I huff. I'm not giving up on him just like that. I'm going to find a way to contact him, you'll see. And I'll prove that he's not betrayed me. Not betrayed all of us. I climb off the bed, which is really just a large mattress on the wooden floor of the wagon. There are windows on 3 sides of the room, all of them covered with dainty red curtains. A few built-in shelves and cubbyholes are the only other furniture. I hope this isn't the only bedroom in our new home. I'm okay sharing with my men, but I'd rather not have my meow employees here as well. If they're going to stay here with me, the pack won't be as interested in them as they are in me. If they left, they could probably have a good life. Start again. Maybe even create their own Meow 2.0. A shiver runs through me at the thought. I'd miss them. A while ago, I'd never have admitted how alone I'd feel without them. But right now, my heart is a bleeding mess, and I'm far more emotional than I'd like to be. At least the heat thing has dissipated. Being kidnapped and tortured seems to be the ideal cure for a cat in heat. I'm not surprised most cats prefer to live through the terrible hormonal tsunami that is heat, rather than let themselves be catnapped. I step out of the bedroom and right into a living room with a galley kitchen to my right. A long bench is hidden behind a table, a pillow and blanket thrown to one corner. Someone seems to have slept on the bench last night. I sniff the air. Benjamin. A door at the other end of the room leads to a tiny bathroom and a second bedroom. That one smells of Lily and Bethany. They're nowhere to be seen, though. It's just me and the guys. My stomach growls, and I realize I've not eaten for far too long. I return to the kitchen and make a large pot of tea while rummaging through the cupboards. Most of the dishes are chipped, telling stories of many years of use. I pick some random ingredients and throw them all in a pot. Right now, I don't really care whether you can combine potatoes, beets, and dried up onions. Once the veggies are mostly cooked, I add the 2 eggs I found, plus whatever seasoning I can get my hands on. Most of the herb glasses don't have labels, so I hope I'm not poisoning us. Riker joins me and silently lays the table. He pours 2 glasses of water and 1 of milk. I hope that one's for me and not for him. When I put the strange food mixture on the mismatched soup plates Riker has prepared, Lennox comes out of the bedroom, wearing nothing but his boxers. His muscular chest smirks at me and reminds me that my heat isn't quite over yet. I avert my eyes and start eating. Riker pushes the glass of milk towards me. Good kitty. I empty it in 1 sip before continuing to shovel food into my mouth. Riker looks similarly starved, while Lennox observes us with an amused grin. "I'll get you some more milk," he says with a chuckle and tops up my glass. Good doggo. We eat in silence, but there's no animosity between us. I understand why the 2 of them might doubt Griffin. They don't know him like I do. They've not fucked him. At least, I hope they haven't. That would lead to all sorts of questions. "This is surprisingly good," Riker says in between bites. "Do I taste cardamom?" I shrug. I haven't got the faintest. If one of those little glasses contains cardamom, then yes, that's what you're tasting. "She's never been much of a cook," Lennox stage whispers. "Be glad she didn't give us raw potatoes." I growl at him. Once. Twice. Remember when you had to clean the kitchen and thought it would be fun to mess up the pack meal plans? Ah, yes, I remember. That was fun. I grin at the memory. I chopped up most of the potatoes that had been set aside for later in the week. Then I poured so much salt on them that they were inedible, but only until I realized I was hungry. So I pocketed some raw potato slices for Lennox and me to share. We did a lot of things like that. Mostly me, especially after Lennox ran away. Of course, there were always consequences, but they were worth it. "Is little cat safe?" I ask once I've finished my 2nd plate of veggies. Lennox nods. "I've checked on her every single day. She doesn't know that you were held hostage. She thinks you're away on a secret mission. Better to stick with that mission." "Understood. I'll go and visit her as soon as I've freed Griffin." The guys exchange a glance, but don't say anything. Good. I'd hate to have to hurt them. "Riker, your cats are still watching him?" He nods. "Ask them where he is just now, and have them lead me to him. I'd shift, but I have a feeling that I'll need my strength." "This is too dangerous," Lennox says slowly, as if he's afraid I might attack him if he says the wrong thing. "You need to rest and recover. Look at you. Your skin and bones and paler than a ghost. What you need is to stay here, eat lots, and get some sunshine." Riker snickers. "You realize who you're talking to?" The wolf shoots him a glare. "I know, but that doesn't make me give up hope. Deep inside, Cat might have an ounce of self-preservation left." He looks at me, his eyes filled with sadness. "Will you stay here if I ask you to? Will you promise me not to put yourself in danger?" My heart screams at me to say yes, to give in to his puppy eyes, but no, I can't. "I'd do the same for you," I say, my voice choked at seeing him so emotional. "Both of you. I wouldn't abandon you, and I can't abandon Griffin either. He's one of mine, and I protect what I own." In any other situation, they'd probably protest to being called my property, but they wisely stay quiet. Lennox keeps my eyes captured in his, then nods. "I'm coming with you." "No, you can't. The pack will want you too. Same with Riker. We can't give them all three of us. Riker gets up with a jolt, his chair tumbling to the ground. And it's all right for you to give yourself to them. He's shouting, his face a mask of anger. And you want us to stand by and watch you sacrifice yourself? I reach out to him to calm him down, but he pushes my hand away. You can't go, Kat. I won't let you. He sighs, and his voice quietens somewhat. I can't lose you. You turned me into this. You showed me that I'm not alone. You unlocked my human side, and right now, the human in me is begging you not to go. I put a hand on his heaving chest, and this time, he lets me. And what does your cat say? He bows his head, regret reflecting in his glowing eyes. That you need to protect your family, and that Griffin is part of your Clouder. Exactly. Don't worry, I'll be safe. I'll find Griffin, and I'll get him out of there. We'll come back, and we'll live happily ever after. Okay? They both look at me and nod, but I have to fight back my tears, because I'm making promises I'm not sure I can keep. Chapter 17. I tug at my collar, making sure the poison darts are safely secured. Bethany has supplied me with a new set, as well as with my knives. Her and Benjamin went back to the house where I'd been held to look around and found my weapons locked up in a chest. I run my hands over their hilts. It's good to have them back. I feel empty without them, even though I know I could shift and have claws much more effective than knives. I'm following Pan, a beautiful ginger female, one of Riker's closest friends. She leads the way, bringing me to where Griffin was last spotted. The cats have been keeping an eye on him round the clock, whenever he left the building. It's handy to have them on board, although it's strange that Griffin hasn't tried to make contact with them. He knows they spy for me, so it would be easy for him to pass them a message. He's stayed quiet, though, probably afraid that he might be caught. If they let him walk free, that means he's convinced them he's on their side. He'll have to keep playing his role until they believe him fully. Why is he doing it, though? Is he planning to stay with them for a while to find out their biggest weaknesses? Or is he hoping to attack from within? I can't wait to talk to him. Not having him near me is like a physical ache. Must be my feline hormones doing that to me. Pan brings me close to the pack headquarters, where another cat is waiting for us behind some large bins. It's James, his extremely straight tail nervously bumping from left to right. He's a small but feral-looking Bengal with round brown spots on his back and delicate stripes around his neck. A true beauty. James meows, conveying his greetings. Pan rubs against him, then runs off without saying goodbye. Cats. Not the politest beings. The Bengal leads me through a narrow alleyway full of rubbish and broken furniture, until we get to a high wall that doesn't seem to belong to any of the buildings around us. Of course, I've been here before, but this wall is new. When I left the pack over half a year ago, this wall didn't exist yet. Back then, I was able to walk along the alley to a hidden gate that leads into the sleeping quarters of some of the pack members. Now, the way is blocked. James gives me an encouraging meow. Want me to climb over there? I ask, and he nods, rolling his eyes at my perceived stupidity. Before I can ask any more questions, he runs off, leaving me alone. Alrighty then. This is the moment my men have warned me about. I could still turn back. There might be other ways to get Griffin out of there. I could even wait for nightfall to hide in the shadows. But no, I need him now. I'm not patient enough to wait. Call it me being reckless. Or an idiot. I take a deep breath, check my weapons one last time, including all of the ones hidden beneath my clothes, and climb up the wall. My senses tell me that nobody is waiting on the other side, so that's a good sign. Although, of course, it would have been nice if Griffin had come here, ready to be brought home. Why is life never that easy? Beyond the wall, the alley continues, the same as on the other side, just without all the rubbish. Careful not to make any noise, I let myself drop to the ground and continue on, keeping close to the wall to my right, sinking into the shadows. It's mid-afternoon, but the sun is already beginning to drench the world in shades of orange and red. A beautiful light. I bet it's going to be a gorgeous sunset. Hopefully, I'll still be alive to admire it. I grimace at my pessimistic thoughts and push them out of my mind. I need to focus. Switch on my assassin mindset, the one where my heart stops feeling and my brain does all the thinking. Cold, detached, merciless. That's who I need to be today. To save others, you sometimes have to turn off your humanity. Or to make money, but that doesn't sound as nice. The gate that used to lead into the pack headquarters is now sealed shut and blocked with stones from the other side. I'm a bit confused about why the cats led me here. I don't know of any other way in from this alley. There are many different routes I could have taken, but James specifically brought me here. There's nothing at the end of the alley, just the back wall of a house without any doors or windows. Am I involved in some kind of practical joke? Did Riker tell the cats to lead me astray to distract me from something? When I get my fingers on that overgrown kitty. A strange scratching noise to my right makes me swirl around, my daggers at the ready. It comes from an unremarkable brick wall, part of one of the shabby houses in this area. I stay frozen, watching and observing. The scratching continues, then, suddenly, one of the bricks moves. It wobbles a little, then turns, exposing a hole in the wall. More bricks start to move aside until the hole is big enough to let a cat in or out. Curious. I never knew this was here, and I lived in this place all my life. Well, until my life actually started for good. I wait for someone to appear on the other side of the opening, or to say something, but nothing happens. Sniffing the air brings me a myriad of smells, none of them easy to identify. A lot of people have passed through here, both shifters and humans, but there isn't anyone waiting for me. How strange. It must be some kind of mechanism that started making this hole. It's not quite big enough yet to let me climb into the house, so I randomly start touching the bricks and feel for the hidden technology that has caused them to move. When I reach the very first brick that moved, it starts shaking and the process continues. Must have got stuck. More and more stones shift until the hole is just large enough for a small human. My men wouldn't be able to squeeze through, but luckily, I'm not as big as them. As a panther, I'd get stuck, but as a human, I just about managed to get through without too many scrapes. As soon as I'm inside the dark room, the mechanism begins again, faster this time, until the wall is back to how it used to be. Nobody would ever suspect it to be anything but a dull brick wall. I'm amazed. I want one of those. Yet another windowless room awaits me, but this time there's a door. The rest of the floor is covered in a thick layer of dust, but the passage between the trap door and the door is well used. I wonder if this way into the pack headquarters has always been there, or if they only installed it after that wall was built. No matter. I found it, and now I'm on the way in. The next room is full of discarded clothes. The floor is literally covered in them. This must be a sort of changing room. Ever heard of a wardrobe? And here was me thinking that I was untidy. This is a whole new level. With all of the clothes giving off a myriad of scents, I have trouble focusing on what my senses are telling me. Has Griffin been here? I can't tell. He might have, but it's just as likely that he hasn't. I know his scent well, but this is like trying to find a cat hair in a bag of hay. This time, there's a window. I sneak towards it, keeping my head low. The glass is stained, and the corners are home to several spiders and their respective cobwebs. Despite that, I recognize where I am. That courtyard down below is where we did our first training sessions. They were mostly beatings, our trainers showing us where it hurt the most, so that we would be experts by the time we had to inflict pain on others. That was their excuse, anyway. I think they just liked beating us. This part of the compound is for the youngest pack members, or those who've only recently arrived. I remember this area being heavily guarded, but strangely enough, I can't see a single person outside, and with all the sweaty clothes surrounding me, I can't use my sense of smell to detect threats. I'm relying on my eyes and sight alone. I don't like it. A cat's nose is one of her most important weapons, and right now, I'm noseblind. I stay here for a few minutes, crouched beneath the window frame, watching for signs of life outside. Nobody to be seen. Have they abandoned this part of the headquarters? Did they maybe become scared after I burned down their research facility and killed everyone in those 2 houses last night? I'm kind of disappointed. I came here to kill. Instead, I'm covered in dust and yucky smells. When I'm sure nobody is hiding outside, I climb down the ladder at the other end of the room, a bit nicer than the rope earlier, and sneak through the room below. This one actually has a door. Hooray! Again, there are discarded clothes, supplies, and even some weapons. When I was part of the pack, they always made us keep our things in tip-top condition and meticulously sorted in our lockers. Leaving our clothes strewn on the floor like this would have earned us at least 2 weeks in solitary confinement, or worse. What is going on? I would have heard about a leadership change in the pack. I might keep away from them, but most of the criminal underworld doesn't. I'd have been told by my contacts. The door is the only way out of this building, unless I went upstairs again and climbed out of the window. As much as I love running around roofs, I know this compound well enough to decide to stay on the ground. There are watchful eyes everywhere, and it's easier to hide inside the buildings rather than on top of them. I mentally ready myself for a fight, then throw open the door and run to the building opposite the courtyard. Nobody rushes me. No alarming scents. Nothing. It's as if everyone's simply run away and left this place empty. I make my way deeper into pack territory. I know my way around and take the most hidden shortcuts I can remember, staying in the shadows as much as I can. The absence of people is beginning to make my skin itch. I hate not knowing what's going on. By the time I get to my old dormitory, even the sound of my own footsteps makes me jump. This is beginning to feel like a big mistake. At least this room makes it obvious that there are still people living here. Children's belongings are on the beds, mostly toys they've made themselves from rags and sticks. Lennox made me a doll once, which I promptly assassinated. To be fair, I didn't know any better, and to stay honest, I'd do the same thing again today. By now he should have figured out that I'm not a doll sort of girl. Unless the doll bleeds, screams, and can pretend to die. The kitchen not far from the dormitory smells of food, and there's still something cooking in one of the pots. As if they all left within a moment's notice. Was I that reason? It's not like I didn't know they'd likely set a trap for me, but this feels a little excessive. The smells in the air make me hungry again, reminding me how I've not had enough to eat in the past few days. I've got some making up to do, but not now. Once Griffin is safe, we can all do that date and have lots to eat in a fancy restaurant. I never asked the guys if they managed to save some money when the house exploded. There's some in the bank as well, under a fake name, but we had a lot of cash stashed away in my office. I don't care much for money and material things, but to build a new life and find ourselves a new home, we'll need it. Suddenly, a scream echoes through the building. I raise my daggers, ready to jump, before realizing the sound came through the speakers installed in every room in the compound. Another scream. And sadly, I know exactly whose scream it is. Griffin. There's only one reason why they'd broadcast his pain over the loudspeakers, and that's me. Fuck. It's just like I thought. They've made everyone leave so that I'd wander all the way into the center of their headquarters. Then they'll cut off my escape route and surround me from all sides. It's pretty much how I would have done it, but my fear for Griffin has made me cocky. That's why assassins should never get attached. Love makes you stupid and predictable. Not that I love him. Obviously not. Where are you? I shout, no longer trying to keep to the shadows. Where is Griffin? The scream stopped abruptly, followed by a very familiar voice. Step outside into the assembly yard. It's Elder Grimsay, one of the most feared pack members. I've only ever seen him twice face to face, but everyone here knows his voice. He likes to do speeches, especially before and after public punishments. I heard him talk most days while growing up about how all shifters are abominations and need to be trained by the pack. At the very beginning, I believed him. That's what they do. Destroy your self-confidence, make you convinced that you're something inferior, and that the only way to deal with my feral non-human side is to be controlled by the pack. Of course, I stopped believing that pretty quickly once I saw what they did to us. Other shifters weren't as lucky. They kept on listening to Grimsay's words, convinced that they were the disgusting monsters he was calling us. Those are the dangerous, deluded, and often stupid members of the pack, and I'm very likely surrounded by them. This was such a bad idea, but it's too late to turn back. I'm either going to get out of here with Griffin in tow, or I'm going to be taken by the people I both hate and fear most in the world. I prefer the former option. I know my knives won't do much good against the assembled might of the pack, but I grip them tight nonetheless, readying myself for a fight. Taking one last deep breath, I step outside into the assembly yard. Among the scents of shifters and humans, one stands out. Griffin. He's close. I keep my back close to a wall, making sure nobody can sneak up on me from behind. And then he's there. Griffin. He walks out of a building opposite, wearing a tight suit and not looking at all as if he's just been tortured. He smiles at me, but the usual warmth in his eyes is missing. He slowly strides towards me, his gaze fixed on me as if he's trying to hold me in place with his eyes alone. The way he moves, a predator about to pounce on his prey. My back prickles, and I know people are watching us from all directions. They want to know what he does next, just as I do. My stomach churns at the coldness he's looking at me with. This isn't my Griffin, the man who made me laugh, who made his music caress me, who fought by my side. This isn't even his siren. This is something new. Please let it be an act. Please let it be a mask that he's going to drop any second now before escaping together. Cat, he says in a strangely emotionless voice. Thanks for coming. Of course I was going to come. Let's turn and run before they can catch us. He smirks, and the look he gives me turns even darker. I'm not going to run with you. This is my home. Just like that, he breaks my heart. I can almost hear it shattering. I stare at him, still clutching onto the vain hope that this is an act, a joke. He's close enough now that I can reach out to touch him, but I don't. It doesn't feel right. As much as I want to hug him, this isn't my Griffin. For a moment, something flickers in his bright green eyes, the opposite of the ice he's shown me so far. He closes the distance between us, and I expect anything to happen. Anything but him putting a collar around my neck. Chapter 18. I expect to be in instant pain, but all I feel is a strange cold seeping into my bones. My mind turns foggy, but I can still concentrate on my surroundings. The collar Dr. Fitzroy put on you in the lab was a prototype. Griffin explains as if he can read my mind. One that could be remote controlled. This one is an older model, but it's more reliable and a lot less painful. I glare at him. Do you want me to be grateful that you put this on me? He shrugs. It would be a start. The more you cooperate, the less it will hurt. I step over the shards of my broken heart and slap him. Hard. Surprised, he holds his cheek, then starts laughing. I guess I deserved that. This must be a clone. This can't be my Griffin. Did they replace his brain? Or is he on some kind of drugs? My Griffin wouldn't let me hit him. He'd also not grin at me with that arrogant, cold glint in his eyes. I rub the collar, still surprised at how it's not taking away my ability to think. A dumb pain is starting to build at the back of my head, but it's not distracting me as of yet. Come with me. Griffin commands. I snarl at him, but all he does is smirk. What a bastard. I realize I still have my knives in my hands, and I could easily stab him. But this is still Griffin. Somewhere is the Griffin who rocked inside me, who held me in his arms, who listened to me talking about random and probably disturbing stuff. I can't kill him. As much as my assassin mind wants to, my heart is refusing to even consider the possibility, even if that means that I'll be their prisoner. Or worse. I won't harm Griffin. He seems to realize the moment I make that decision, and something flares in his eyes. Triumph. I drop my arms and push my knives into their sheaths. I'm amazed he's not disarmed me yet. That would have been the first thing I would have done in his position. Follow me. It's an order, but he's not reinforcing his command. Besides putting the collar on me, he's not laid his hands on me. Maybe he's been told not to, or maybe there's a tiny spark of goodness left in him. Where to? The elders want to see you. He starts walking, and I follow him. Even though I know the route and could easily lead the way, I've only ever been in the elders' hall once, when I graduated from being an apprentice to a trained assassin. Only the leaders of the pack and their closest associates are allowed in there. I take one last wistful look at the red-tinged sky, then step into the building, leaving my freedom behind. We walk past guards who are staring at me as if I'm the worst threat they've ever faced. I recognize a few, but none of them signals that they know me. Not that I was ever friends with anyone in the pack after Lennox left. I had my heart broken once and made sure that was never going to happen again. Despite that, I force myself to smile at the guards I know from when I still lived here, giving them short nods. One, Gerard, has the decency to look away, but the others just ignore my gesture and continue to stare at me as if I'm about to go on a killing spree. Which isn't all that far from the truth. If Griffin wasn't here, behaving strangely, and if I weren't wearing a collar, I'd make short process of them all. I'm not sure if I should kill them all, or leave some alive, the ones who I know are reluctant pack members rather than fervent followers. While the guards at the entrance and in the corridors are collared, the two standing in front of the large doors leading into the Elders' Hall aren't forced to wear them. They're here voluntarily. They've been brainwashed enough that nobody is expecting them to ever switch sides. I don't understand them. Why would you ever choose to be a captive? I'd rather be poor, persecuted, and hunted than live in a prison of my own choosing. Griffin doesn't look back, confident that I'm following him. It's not as if I have a choice, unless I want to die prematurely. The way the guards look at me and grip their weapons doesn't leave any doubt to their orders. If I run, I'm dead. No thanks. One of the uncollared guards knocks on the doors, then stands back and pulls back his shoulders. His head may be straight, but his eyes are following my every movement. I don't think I've ever seen him before. Just goes to show how much has changed since I left, and how much I didn't know about the pack while I was still living here. Try not to insult them, Griffin says under his breath as the doors open. That kind of makes me want to do the exact opposite, but I bite my tongue and follow him inside, towards the large table where the elders are waiting for us. There are 9 of them, but only 7 are present. Grimze is sitting in the center, staring at me from under bushy brows. To his left are 2 women, both of them unknown to me, and a young man that seems familiar, but I can't remember his name. To Grimze's right is George Kinney, the elder that was responsible for assassin assignments, and who I therefore know quite well, and the terrifying twins. Their brother and sister, looking innocent as fuck with their elegant clothes and polished expressions. They deserve their name, though. Since they're responsible for discipline and punishments, I've spent my fair time with them. I'd hope to never see them again. They still occasionally appear in my nightmares, but seeing them in the flesh makes a shiver of fear run down my back. I thought I'd moved past my fear of them. There are few things in life that I'm afraid of, but those two are top of my list. I brought her here as requested, Griffin says smoothly and bows before the elders. Disgusting. If they expect me to bow, they're going to have to break my knees first. From the look Grimze is giving me as I stare him down, he's considering it. Elder Kenny gives Griffin a smile. Well done. If we had any doubts about your loyalty, you've now proven what side you're on. I'll be writing to your father. Griffin inclines his head. I appreciate it. All I've ever wanted is to make him proud. Am I allowed to puke? This is cringeworthy. My Griffin would never behave like this. If they know his father, at least part of what he said is true. They're sirens, either all or some of them. It's hard to tell, but now that I know what to look for, they do look a little too flawless to be human, especially the people to Grimze's left. Grimze is still returning my glare, and the hatred in his eyes is almost too much to bear looking at. You've caused us a lot of trouble, far more than your creators ever expected. And trust me, if Boris and Professor Lakefield hadn't assured me that it was all under control and important for the experiment's results, I would have put an end to you a long time ago. Boris. That was the blonde man who I killed in the blue house. Good riddance. When the professor died, I was close to terminating you, Elder Grimze continues. But once again, the scientists told me it was vital that we kept you alive. That was until you started learning the truth and destroyed one of our labs. I'm afraid this is the end of the line, K1. I'm going to kill him just for that. I have a name. I'm not a number. Even though the collar mutes my senses, I have no trouble noticing that Griffin's heartbeat is speeding up. Does that mean he actually cares about what's happening to me? Or is he simply excited to witness my execution? The man to the very left smiles at me, but there's no warmth in his expression. I finally recognize him. He was on one of the photos I was shown while I was chained down to that chair. His dark brown hair is combed back with precision, his thick glasses pushed all the way up his nose. In the photograph, he was wearing a lab coat, so he must be one of the scientists. It's surprising that he's one of the elders, considering his age. Maybe he's a bit of a genius. It's a pity I'll never get the chance to perform all the tests I planned. There is genuine regret in his voice, but I doubt it's because I'm about to be killed. It's because I won't be available for his experiments. Professor Lakefield didn't approve of all them, but now that he's been disposed of, I was hoping I'd finally get the opportunity. Wait, disposed of? I ask before I can stop myself. A wry smile curves Grimze's lips. Our head scientist was getting attached to his subjects. He was becoming a liability. We no longer knew if his experiments were actually beneficial to our aims, or if he was simply doing them to satisfy his own curiosity and strange sense of morality. They killed one of their own. Not that I'm surprised, but from what I'd heard of Professor Lakefield, I would have assumed that he was too important to get rid of. After all, he was the one who'd started the whole cloning project together with Dr. Fitzroy. At least now I know that Mystery Man, aka Lakefield, really is dead. Who knows? Maybe he even left me the house without the pack being aware of that. If his daughter really exists, she might be a fake, employed by the pack to deceive me. Grimze looks around the table. Who wants to do it? The twins grin and reply at the same time. Me. I repress a growl. Their scent smells of cruelty. They won't make it quick or painless. They're going to make me suffer and draw out my death as much as they possibly can. Bring it on. I'm not going to let them kill me without a fight. Elder Grimze looks at the twins for a moment, his brow furrowed as if he's wondering whether that's a good idea. Then he nods and turns to Griffin. You can step away from her now, although you should really have removed her weapons. Is the collar secure? We don't want a repeat of yesterday's events. He's calling me murdering a dozen people an event. Only shows how dangerous he is. how much lives are worth to the pack. I killed their people, and yet he doesn't seem very concerned. Griffin steps behind me and puts his hands on my collar. I freeze, hating him touching me. Traitor. I'm tempted to pull one of my knives and gut him. But even knowing that my death is imminent, my weak, idiotic heart betrays me, fixing me in place. I can't kill him. I realize the change before I hear the click of the collar opening. Power streams into my body, and my mind clears, becoming as sharp as ever. The collar falls to the stone floor, echoing into the stunned silence. Shift, Griffin whispers, before pulling my knives from their sheaths and running towards the elders. Chapter 19. My surprise is enough to make me hesitate for a moment, but when I see Griffin plunge one of my knives into the young scientist's heart, my training takes over. I shift in one fluid motion, jumping forward before I'm even fully shifted. My claws extend, sharp and deadly. All I can think about is that there's a lot of prey in this room that needs killing. The elders are on their feet, surrounding Griffin, but just like he's always said, most sirens aren't trained to fight. One of the women haphazardly swings a sword around, looking like she has no clue what she's doing. Griffin cuts her throat with a simple swipe of his dagger, quicker than she can raise her blade. 2 down, 5 more to go. And that's before I've even joined the fray. I focus on the twins, who I know are good at fighting. They used to spar in the training yard, and while they're not the best assassins, they do pose a challenge. I roar and they turn to me, ignoring Griffin. That still leaves him with 3 others, but neither Elder Grimsay nor the woman is very competent with their weapons. George Kinney makes up for their lack of skills, though. He's trained generations of assassins and has a lot of tricks up his sleeve. I need to deal with the twins soon so that I can join Griffin. The woman manages to mostly block my attack with her shield. She's the only one I know who fights with a sword and shield like a knight, but my impact is enough to make her stumble backwards, and I swipe her legs with one paw before she can regain her balance. Her brother swings his cutlass at me, but I evade him easily, predicting his move as soon as he starts it. I've watched them fight for years, and they seem to have forgotten that. I know how they like to fight when they're 2 against 1. If one of them is on the defensive, the other will distract their opponent, keeping them busy until both twins can attack at once. Instead of involving him in a fight, I keep attacking his sister, standing on my hind legs for a moment, only to let myself drop down, pushing against her chest with my paws, making her fall to the ground. Expecting the brother's attack, I roll to my left, and, just as I'd hoped, his cutlass slices into the woman's leg where I'd been a second ago. Bingo. She screams, shouting at her brother in pain and disbelief. He freezes, shocked, giving me the perfect opportunity to rush him, toppling him and clamping my jaws around his neck. His sister screams when I rip out his throat, shaking his body like a rag doll. She tries to get up, but her injured leg makes her sluggish, and I'm upon her before she can defend herself. I'd love to make this slow and painful, but I'm very aware that Griffin is still fighting. I listen for heartbeats. He still has 2 opponents. The doors bang open, reminding me that there will be guards running at us any second now. Guards who will be better trained than the elders. We need to hurry. With a loud growl, I run my sharp teeth along the woman's jugular, making sure she can see my eyes while I kill her. After all the pain she's inflicted on me, I want to be the last thing she sees. I turn and race towards Griffin before the final flicker of life has fully extinguished. There's no time to savor her death. Maybe I'll dream of her tonight, a different version of her demise, where I had an hour or 2 to slowly make her pay for all she's done to me. This was too fast and not at all satisfying. Griffin is on the defensive, both Elder Kinney and Grimsay fighting him at once. Grimsay isn't the best swordsman, but he's good enough to distract Griffin from the opponent that actually matters. I roar as loud as I can, making both of them turn instinctively. That's enough for Griffin to get the upper hand, launching a flurry of strikes against Kinney. Grimsay turns to me, and I show my teeth in delight. It's going to be fun killing him. He deserves it in so many ways. As much as I want to play with my food, the guards have almost reached us. Bowmen are taking up position by the door, but for now, we're moving too fast for them to risk shooting. They'd be boiled alive for hurting an elder, if they're lucky. I draw on my new strength, that secret well that I've only just discovered, and move faster than it should be physically possible. I bite his sword arm, making his weapon fall to the ground, while at the same time using one paw to slice open his abdomen. The squelching sound of his entrails sliding out makes me smile, before ripping off some of his fingers. He howls in pain, dropping to his knees, trying to keep his innards from spreading all over the floor. I think he's not quite noticed his missing digits yet. Either way, he's done for. I leave him to it, safe in the knowledge that he's going to die soon, and that he's in no condition to fight me. Griffin is dueling George Kinney, their blades meeting in quick succession. It's beautiful to behold, and to be honest, I think it would be unfair to deprive Griffin of it. So instead of butting in, I take on the guards. With a mighty roar, I start running, plowing into them claws first, ripping and cutting and biting. It's carnage. Some of them manage to give me small cuts, but I'm too fast for them to strike me properly. I kill them faster than they can enter the room. It doesn't take long until I'm surrounded by corpses. Their blood coats my fur, my tongue, even my whiskers. I'm going to need a wash later on, but for now, I'm savoring that beautiful taste. Almost makes me want to nibble a little. It's like I'm standing in the middle of an all-you-can-eat buffet, and it keeps getting refilled. All I need to do is cut their throats a little. Meat always tasted best when it's had the chance to bleed dry for a bit. Cut! Griffin's voice slowly pulls me from my frenzy. I blink a couple of times, taking in the scene. Elder Kenny is on the ground, severely injured, his heart still beating but about to stop forever. Griffin seems fine, apart from a few shallow wounds, just like the ones I have. I can already feel mine healing. That always itches. How annoying. More guards are approaching the room from afar, but for now, we've killed everyone inside. For one siren and one cat, we've done pretty well. What do we do now? Griffin asks as I slowly stalk towards him. I never thought further than this. I had a hard time believing I'd even managed to get to this point, so it seemed irrelevant to make plans. Do we torch this place? Kill as many people as we can? Take off everyone's collars? Leave and let them sort out themselves? I love how he gets a tiny little dimple when he's deep in thought. But no, I can't think of how cute he is. He betrayed me. He deceived me. Even though it turns out he didn't. Not really. It's kind of hard to tell. Since I can't talk, I flash my teeth at him and give him an angry glare. To underline my point, I throw an arm at him. Not mine, just a random one lying in a pool of blood on the floor. Some limbs lost their owners during the battle, or maybe it's the other way around. Either or, nobody cares. Those people all fought on the wrong side and died because of it. Yes, many of them are wearing collars, but they could have resisted. Not everyone can withstand a collar's command for longer than a minute or so, but that minute would have been enough for me to spare them. Not a single one of them did that, though. I would have smelled their agitation. No, all of them fought for the pack and against me. As much as I would like to raze the entire compound to the ground, I know there are people here who aren't blind followers. They're likely amongst the guards about to spill into the room. They have managed to resist the command for a while, but couldn't do it any longer. And then there are the children and teenagers. I couldn't kill any of them, no matter how brainwashed they are. But what to do with them? It's not like we can just remove their collars. They'd go feral, and it would likely end in a bloodbath. Lennox said that when his collar was taken off for the first time, he'd been out of his mind for a long time. I only held on to my rational mind because Mystery Man was there to guide me. I shudder at the memory. Of course, he knew how the collars worked. He'd been working with the woman who developed them. I was such a fool to trust him. What are we doing? Griffin asks, pulling me back to the task at hand. Not that I can answer him. And yes, I'm sorry, but let's talk about that once we're out of here. I growl at him again, and he lifts his hand as if he wants to defend himself. I meant none of what I've said, all right? I never planned to hurt you. I never betrayed you. And I only did it so that we could get close to the elders and get rid of them. You'll get the full apology later, I promise. But now we need to act. I bet all the important people that weren't in this room are either fleeing or on their way to eliminate us. As much as I enjoyed this, I don't fancy facing off with every capable pack assassin. Way to not survive that. As much as it hurts, I agree with him. So far, the actual assassins have kept back and let the guards do the fighting. Having been one of them, I'm aware most of them are shifters who were forced to become what they are now. I don't want to kill them, and yet, we're in no position to deal with them all right now. If there were lots of us, dozens and dozens, we could work on first killing all the bad people and then taking off collars one by one, while staying with the shifters to make sure they don't go feral. That would be the ideal plan. Sadly, there's only Griffin and me. I think the cleanup has to wait for another day. It's time to retreat and regroup. We've done the most critical part, cutting the head off the snake, and dealing with its twitching body doesn't seem as important now. I meow, then realize he won't understand, so I simply turn towards the exit and start walking through the lake of blood, ignoring the eyes of the dead staring up at me. Epilogue. Our family awaits us in front of our new home. Bethany, Benjamin, Lily, Lennox, and Riker. How far I've come from being all on my own. The wagon looks small from the outside, especially with all of them standing outside, looking at us expectantly, but at least our bed should be just about big enough for 4. I can always sleep on top of one of them. They want answers, of course, and I let Griffin deal with that while I shift back to human. He gives them the quick version, how he was first held against his will with me as the incentive to make him behave, but how he managed to get them to trust him once they found out who his family is. How he carefully led them to come up with a plan that involved him as the bait. How he figured out how to only partially close a collar. I only listen with one ear, too busy picking bone splinters from between my teeth. Riker snickers when I start trying to get rid of the blood under my fingernails. God, you need a wash. While my meow employees make some food, I disappear in the shower with Lennox and Riker. They seem very interested in making sure I don't have blood in my hair, on my breasts, between my legs. They check my entire body from top to bottom, again and again. Their fingers dance on my skin, bringing me to new heights that crescendo into a concert of groans as I make sure that they know how much I love their attention. When we return to the kitchen, hair wet and only wrapped in a towel each, Lily is talking to someone at the door. Please don't let it be related to our little pack massacre. I need a break, and a lot of food. Lily waves to me, her face surprisingly pale.
Cat, you've got visitors.
I shoot her a confused look. I'm not used to seeing Lily this flustered, and join her by the door. And look at myself. Twice.
She really does look like us,
one of the girls says to the other.
She does. Like she's our twin. She's too old to be our twin. An older sister then.
The other girl nods, and they both turn to me, grinning with exactly the same smile I see every day in the mirror.
Hey, big sister.